Hello and a very warm welcome here on GCN Racing. It is the DVV Trofee round 3 and we are in Kortrijk for the CAPS Urban Cross. So a new course and always a lot of excitement surrounding that. But before we get into today's action, let's remind ourselves of the DVV Trofee so far. Two great races so far, the Kopenberg Cross and the cross at Hammer. I'm going to welcome Jeremy Powers, my partner in crime. Welcome, Jeremy. Thanks for joining us today. DVV Trofee so far, we've had two great rounds.
Yeah, it's been awesome so far. Both of them have been very compelling. It was great to be out there in Kopenberg to be able to watch that, and the racing's really exciting. Like how close the all of the standings are right now, and everything like that. It's been a lot of fun to be able to watch this series come together so far this year.
Now, the DVV Trofee, if you're not familiar, it's done on a cumulative time rather than points. So let's have a look at the standings so far after those races. Yara Castelline, of course, taking that Kopenberg cross. Annemarie Verst, though, she managed to close that gap down, and it's now just 4 seconds separating the top two on the general classification. And then we come down to 1 minute and 23 back to Ava Lechner. So we've got the fast start competition as well. There's also 15 bonus seconds on offer at the beginning. This is our top 10 overall. So, Jeremy, there's a few riders in this top 10. They've got a little bit of work to do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you lose a little bit of time, but in cyclocross and in any of these sports, losing time is the thing you don't want to do. You can lose a lot of time very quickly out on the cyclocross course. So 4, 5, 6 seconds is a lot. If you lose that per lap, you're talking about a minute throughout the race. Really, this is not there's nothing done about this. There's a lot of racing to go here.
Now, a lot of excitement surrounding this Kortrijk course. I managed to catch up with Erwin Verbecken, your good friend who puts these courses together. We had a little chat earlier on in the week. Hi, Owen. Thanks for joining us. Now, take us through this new course in Kortrijk. It's called the Urban Cross.
Yeah, Urban Cross because it's in the middle of the city. So we are Kortrijk is one of the 10 biggest cities in Belgium, and we are maybe 500 meters from the city center, downtown Kortrijk, at the borders of a river which is called the Leie. And the good thing about this course is that it's on the both borders, and we use two bridges. So one bridge is which is used for cars, and then another bridge, a very nice new bridge, which is for bikes. And that's the concept of the new course. The good thing about that course is that it has very fast sections along the river because it's on grass, but like not the grass where cows are running around, but nice smooth grass. So that's like in a park. That's very fast. On the other hand, there's a new meadow where the pit zone is located. It has been restored and with new layers a few months ago. And I was there, last Friday. It's incredibly hard because you go like 10 centimeter deep into the mud, and I'm sure, well, with the rain of the past few days, it's a bit unclear, but I think it might be a running section.
You've also got quite a lot of sand in this course from watching your course ride preview. So we got to assume that that's been brought in. How much sand does it take to create a section like that?
No, it's actually already a sand. It's a playground for kids. There's a small beach which was created many years ago, and we just use the playground of the kids, because otherwise in UCR regulations we have to respect, if you create an artificial sand pit, it has to be minimum 40-meter long, 6-meter wide, and maximum 80-meter long, but it has to be a straight section. This is an existing playground for kids, so we can make turns in the sand, and that's the nice thing. It's not such a long section. It's probably 50 meters to go and then 50 meters back, but there's a turn inside, and that's what will be tricky for the riders.
Jeremy, that the course today would definitely be one that would suit you as a bit of a powerhouse. I think we've lost Jeremy's audio momentarily. There we go.
Sorry about that. I'm back. When I lived in Kortrijk, or when I lived in Izegem, I always used to go down to Kortrijk, and I was able to grab some coffees and spin around. So I know that area very well. A very vibrant town, a lot of young people living there. I'm certain that the crowds will be out. The course looks absolutely perfect. It's got some quite a bit of road sections, which I think the riders will appreciate. Then followed up by some of the really technical bits that Erwin's thrown in there. Having seen the course preview and some of these images that are coming from the race, there's definitely some sections that only the best riders are going to be able to ride when they're going as hard as they can.
Now, a bit of a treat for everyone before we get going. I managed to catch up with our Dutch Eurosport friends. We got caught up with Bobby Traxel and Sanne van Passen a little bit earlier on. So a little problem on the audio. We'll try and bring you that a little bit later on. Jeremy, looking at this course and looking at the riders just warming up. When you come to a new course as a rider, you've kind of not got that playbook from previous years, have you? And go, okay, I know exactly how to take this section. You've got to kind of, it's right back to basics almost.
Yeah, for sure. I think that they'll probably have looked at the course preview. They'll probably have asked some of the riders that have gone out to the track and seen it. Anytime that we would go out to a big race that we hadn't been able to see a year before, like a national championship, a big race like the DVV is for these riders, this is a big series. You're always trying to get as much information as you possibly can. So some of the riders that live close probably took a spin down and then looked at the course maps, and they know this area because it's, like a newly redone spot in Kortrijk. So, I think that they're probably gaining as much intel as they possibly can from everything that's going on out in social media and otherwise.
Now, John will let me know if we can get the chat with Sanne. If not, we'll try and bring it a little bit later on. Let's have a look at the start list today. Let's go through this one. That so far, it's been very much Dutch dominance, hasn't it, so far in the seasons?
Yeah, man, it's been crazy. Between Lucinda Brand making her comeback, right? That was a huge moment. Now she's already storming straight to the front on the podiums, but already with Alvarado, Yara Castellan, Anna Marie Wurst, and then we have all of the younger riders as well that have been sort of starting to trickle into that top five. It's a very deep field out there right now on the women's side, but the Netherlands seems to seemingly be like really tearing it up.
Yeah, and you can see on the start list here, we've picked out a few. So Barbara Borowica for our Polish fans. Kata Blankavas, the young Hungarian champion as well. We saw her for the first time in Koppenberg, and it's always great, isn't it, to just see another flag up there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've said this 100 times, but I love all the internationalization. I love seeing riders make the trip over there to Belgium. It is such a hard racing scene. It's that's like part of it, right? If you have success in Belgium or in Europe, it's just such a different thing to be able to do that coming from another country. So I give all those riders a ton of credit, and it's a pleasure to watch them have success.
Okay, before we go over to live pictures, I think we can hear from Sanne now. Marcel from Eurosport Netherlands. Sanne, I'm going to come to you first. It's been a bit of a dominant first part of the season for the Dutch riders. What have you made of it?
Yeah, the Dutch riders are doing very well. I'm very happy to see Jara Kastelein in the back because I think she made a very big step, and maybe because there are a big battle between 5 Dutchies. But it's nice to see they are challenging each other, and it looks like they are growing together to the next level. So that's, in my opinion, very nice. But I'm curious what's going to happen during the next few months, because in the Worlds, then we are going to battle for the nice jersey.
Yeah, definitely. And Bobby, today we go to Kortrijk, and it's a new course. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm always excited when we see a first race on a new course.
Yeah, because nobody knows what's going to be happened over there. The riders talks about the race over the bridges, because we have a lot of bridges on this course. I speak with Vervekke about it. He is, of course, the organizer of Golazzo there, and he said it's a hard course, so really fast, and we will see what's happened there.
And Sanne, looking at this today, anyone that you can really see this course suiting today?
I'm thinking about Lucinda Brandt, because she is a road racer, or she's also very good on the road. And there are the hills, it's a lot of road parts. So I think she's going to be very strong, and it's not that technical. I think it's a little bit better course, but I think she's very strong, and for her power, this course is perfect.
And Bobby, who's your prediction?
Yeah, that's always difficult, because we have 5 really big girls at the start today. But of course, the Dutch, she's are the most important ones. If I think who is the best for today, I will put my money today on Alvarado again.
Commentator now, but Sanne. Here we go. So we heard from them. So that was Sanne van Passen, and many of you, I'm sure, are big fans. She had such a phenomenal career, didn't she, Jeremy? And it's great to see her in the commentary box now as well.
Yeah, for sure. I remember seeing her come over and race across Vegas, and at the World Cups back in the day, got to see and spend a lot of time around her and her crew. So yeah, great to see her still in the commentary booth, giving back and giving us that insight. The Dutch people are able to listen to all of the interviews and able to dissect all that information and just have a bit of a different spin on it. Where on the English side, we have to either do some broken translations or our own research to figure out what's going on.
Now, as soon as we've got live pictures, we'll go down to the start. Remember, don't forget, please subscribe to GCN Racing. Just hit that subscribe button. Make sure you give us a thumbs up on our live broadcast as well. If you can do that, the more likes, the more subscribers that we get, the more viewers we get. Keep spreading the word. I know that you are. We'll be able to bring you more and more live racing and live cyclocross, and I know you're enjoying that. But we are down now on the start line. We are ready to go. Get involved over on the chat forums as well. We'll do our best to keep an eye on those, and give us a little shout out, and we will let us know where you're watching us around the world. Alvarado, Kant, Lascelles there, Kastelein, Verst, Brandt and Lechner. That is your front row. Our Zufi you just saw creeping into the shot there. You can see here what we've got. Quite a fast start ahead of the riders. The lights are red and we are green, and we are off and racing. And you can see the riders just trying to move up on the outside. Kastelein straight down the centre. Sanne Kant, Lucinda Brandt in that Dutch champions jersey. Lechner moving up on the outside. Verst is there. Alvarado battling to try and get that strong position. Ellen van Looy, always a good starter. It's there. The riders going left and right. So we go round the roundabout at the bottom of this. And then after these faster road sections here, we get into the technical parts of the course, and straight away you can see it's the Italian from Krefeld Friestadt, Eva Lechner, that's leading out from Annemarie Verst, Sanne Kant and Yara Castelline. And just as Sanne van Passen said there, Jeremy, Lucinda Brand is very much up there in about 5th and 6th.
Yeah, she is. And it was interesting at the start there, Sanne Kant and Brand having a little bit of chin music there. Brand giving her a little bit of a shoulder there just to say, hey, I'm over here, don't come over on me. You know, I think that's two champions, right? They respect each other, but on such a fast start, no chance to take any chances or play any games. So unfortunately, the loss that had to slot back a little bit, which I think hasn't hurt her too much. She's still in the top 10 there, but definitely something to note from the start there.
So into the sand, the bridge that Erwin Vervecken was talking about in his interview, just kicks you down straight into the sand here, Jeremy, and it's pretty deep. You can see the riders just coming to a real abrupt halt at the bottom.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a challenge for these riders. You know, that looks like a nice section. As we see here, this is that replay that I was talking about. Brand's there, but and then comes over just a bit of a pinch. So maybe less of chin music, more of a Sonic didn't see what was going on there and couldn't tell that another rider had slid over and leaned on Brand. Everyone was holding their line, just somebody lost a little bit of traction there. But yeah, that sand pit was a unique feature coming off of that ramp with a ton of speed. It's going to be tough for anybody to be able to ride that, even with a clear track, because of that tight kind of 180-degree turn that they've thrown in there.
Yara Castelline was getting involved in there off the start line as well, and it's Castelline, the European champion, that's straight through to the front, followed by Lechner, Verst, Kant, Alvarado and Van Looy. You can see the little changes in surface here as we go into these steps. The under-23s were taking this wide line on the right and managing to ride those steps. So you can kind of, that sort of section, you can just almost kind of bounce up those sort of big steps on the right.
Yeah, man, that seems like that'd be something that I would like to do as we see these riders using this new park that's here, going crisscrossing this river in downtown Kortrijk. This is the new race, if you guys don't know, the Urban Cross presented by Caps. It's very unique track. This is definitely 2020 cyclocross as far as I'm concerned, Marty.
Onto the descent here, Brandt going through Verdonschot. There's Christine Majerus that's there as well, the Luxembourg champion. She's always generally a fast starter, as Christine Majerus. Let's just run you through a few more of the riders as we settle in here on the opening lap into the muddy section. So all the big favourites that we've mentioned so far. Mount Captains also here, Joyce van der Beken, Jolien Verschuren, Joe Blanchard, Corey Coogan, Cesek from the US. Michelle Gagan is wearing number 20 from Ireland. Kim van der Putte, Axel Hermes, Amy Perryman, British rider from Hargroves Ridley, Montezuma's racing team. For French fans, Olivia Onesti is here, Axel Bellart, Casablanca Vass, we've already mentioned. Ava Vermeersch is also here, the Belgian rider. Sophie Thackeray for Scott Racing, the British rider. We've got Laura Defoe, Jana Doibelara. We've got Femke van Vonderschot, Oceana Allard, Kiona Krabbe. We've got Karen Verheestraten, Natalie Verschelden, Anaïs Morishon for French fans, Kim van der Stine and Caitlin Cook from Estonia. That is your the full rundown of the field that we have here. Alvarado and Verst here through this section. You can see just getting nicely boggy. We may be an urban cross, and we're getting into this real off-camber section, and we saw riders out just pre-riding this one. What would be your line of choice here?
Man, I don't know. This looks so steep. It doesn't look like it's rideable at the moment just because the sun is not hitting it. Whether it's hit it yet or not, it's hard to say. You see some riders looking like they're going for that lower line, but this course has a really unique set of skills that are required. As we see, I think Beth Crumpton go by there, Marty. It's punchy because it gets a lot of speed in these road sections, but then they're slowed way down, which is like very, at least as far as I've raced, that's not necessarily the status quo for Belgian courses. They have a lot more wide open, big power sections, which of course this course has, but it's so fast. You can see that the road sections are just speeding the riders way up. So it takes a lot of explosivity on this track from what I can see so far.
Looking at this group already, Verst, Alvarado, Castellan with Sanakant just trying to get on. Jeremy, in terms of tyres and equipment and pressure choice today, because of the amount of road in this one, would it be difficult to select tyres and tyre pressures coming into this?
It probably, the only thing is if there was maybe like a hard cement curb that couldn't be avoided or something like that, but truthfully, everyone has to use the same. Everyone has to use the same, and you need the traction where you need the traction, right? You don't need hard, stiff tires on the road sections because no one else is going to be using that. So if you decided like, hey, I want to run some higher pressure tires to have more speed on the road, you wouldn't really be doing yourself a favor because any amount of time that you took back, you'd be losing in these sections where you wouldn't have the traction. So I would assume that most of the riders are running like a standard Griffo style tire, a cyclocross tire, and they've got them at a reasonable amount of pressure, somewhere below 20 but more than 15 pounds of pressure.
You're on the opening lap. If you're just getting on board, welcome to GCN Racing. Don't forget, give us a subscribe to the channel. The Caps Urban Cross here in Kortrijk, round 3 of the DVV Trophy. The elite women are underway on their opening lap, and it's again coming down to a battle between Annemarie Verst and Celine Alvarado. As a glance back over her shoulder, the Urban Cross just shows you exactly what you can do right down in a town centre. So they're back onto another one of the roundabouts there. They've got the 2 bridges on the course. Castellan is constantly just trying to fight her way back on this one. So thanks all of you for getting on board on our chat forums on YouTube and Facebook. Remember, we go out simultaneously on both platforms. Welcome Katie Okeka checking in, giving a shout out to Michelle Gagan from Ireland. Sebastian Minho, thanks for saying hi, and Pierlik from Brazil, thanks for getting on board. Juliana Valerino, Ava will win, so we're making the predictions already. Chris from Poland saying hi, Lucinda Brand and Ava Lechner trying to get back on board here. Checking in, Jules from Mexico, Mark from Ontario in Canada. We just like to put a little pin in the map here. And Matthias getting on board from Sweden as well. Thanks for all your chat. Thanks for saying hi. Your leading trio, Castellan getting on here as we get back on to the start bridge. Sanakant just trying to battle on, sitting in 10th, with Lucinda Brand using the road sections here. This is where it will really suit her. You can see just over the 8-minute mark for that first lap as Sanakant gets back on. And Jeremy, straight through, you'd expect nothing less.
No, an experienced rider. She knows how fast this track is, and she doesn't want to get rubber banded out. She's already made the selection. You can see that this front 4 is there. She's made the group, and she wants to put herself right in the front so that she can set the pace and maybe take these other riders a little bit down, just a little bit in the tempo as she recovers from getting back on. It was interesting. I mean, there's been a lot of looking back and kind of arm flicks and things like that so far today, but it was interesting there to see Alvarado kind of come past Annemarie Verst and give her a little bit of a look. I wonder what that was all about. So it's important that the riders, treat it as such. I'm sure as time goes on, they'll be able to, as we see some really energetic fans out there, the riders will be able to kind of come to terms with like, hey, this is entertainment as well as sport. So it's important that they use all of these kind of city, municipality, things that have been brought up through the cities to be able to help them create a unique track. That's something new for the fans and for the riders.
So our lead group swapping, just give you your top 10 at the moment. So from what we can see, so this lead group, as we say, swapping backwards and forwards. Kant, Brand, Verst, Alvarado, Castellan are kind of making up this front group. Ava Lechner not far behind. Ellen Van Looy, Los Cels, Alicia Maria Adzufi and Christine Majeros from Bulls Dolmans. Those are the riders that are pretty much making up the top 10 at the end of the bridge. Annemarie Verst just puts on the anchors, drops into that section. Verst doesn't lose a huge amount of speed through that section there. There's Ava Lechner from Kreefin, Van Looy, Sales and Arzufi just trying to find their way back on at the moment. So the gap's still manageable for the likes of Lechner just off the back of this group.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is, as we see Brand there struggling a little bit to get back there, as you see Annemarie Verst. This section looks very, very deep. You see Annemarie Verst and Sanakant both sort of taking missteps there. That means that the mud is over their ankles. You know, this is a section that I think has not gotten any sun. When we looked at the pre-ride with Erwin, before the race came out, this section was very, very muddy. I think this was by design. Erwin wanted this in here to force a run or to make it a super boggy section right in front of the VIP there on the right-hand side. So that's all the people that have paid a little bit of extra money to be able to have some food and some drink while they're watching the race. And you can see them just kind of hanging over in a heated tent, watching the riders and getting a nice shot of them as they have to troop through the mud this morning.
Kim van der Steener, they're going through. And it's Catablanca Vas up here again, the national champion of Hungary. Great to see her up there. Just again, it's one of those runs there. It's when you see the mud, the water just spraying up off the feet of the riders. It kind of puts just how deep that section is into perspective. And that again, just see Annemarie Verst there just losing that footing just momentarily. That's Sanakant. A lot of people again with so far this season. We expect so much of her, don't we? We haven't seen her with her hands in the air yet, but the strength of talent in this leading group here at the moment. There's been so many winners in so many different series so far.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great time to be a fan of women's cyclocross. There's just a lot of riders at the front right now. As we see, Brand has fully made contact, and now she's put herself in the middle here of Annemarie Verst and Celine Del Carmen Alvarado. So yeah, it's a beautiful time. There's I think Sanakant has played her season perfectly. I've said that a couple of times in different spaces. She's able to stay in the overall of all of these series, and she's maybe outside of the World Cup. She really has a shot at winning everything, even though, she doesn't seem like she's won a ton. She's stayed in all of them, and there's a ton of opportunity for her to be able to still strike. So it's been really cool to be able to kind of talk with all the Europeans and get a sense of what they think of what's going on with Sanakant. And everyone's that I've spoken with is like, wow, sounds normal. It seems like that's normal Sanakant playing it late.
Yeah. And everyone's as well, and especially the Dutch riders, the Dutch fans, and our Dutch colleagues. Everyone says, she'll win the Worlds.
Yep, exactly. And she kind of has a laugh about that last time we heard an interview with her, but we see now Brand on the front kind of stretching this one out. She must love this course. It's got so many road elements. It's very fast. It's very punchy. She's got a lot of power to put down. And I think the thing that I'm seeing, Marty, is that as soon as you're not on the front of this, you're at a disadvantage because this course is very, very punchy. It requires a lot of big accelerations back up to speed, followed by a lot of power output. And that is going to be hard on the legs.
You've got to, it's again that dictating that pace. Lucinda Brand is a perfect rider to using that road power to be able to it's gradually just snapping the legs of the riders behind you. A little burnout of each one of these really tight sections is the sort of thing that just starts to break down your opponent lap after lap.
Yeah, I mean, it's an attrition race, right? They over time, it's just going to continue to wear each rider down. One's going to take an opportunity, but you can see it's too much for everyone here. There's no opportunity to gain here, so everyone's just sat up just a little bit here on this road section as they come around the turn, and still just kind of keeping tempo on the front, but not forcing anything. As you see the younger riders like Alvarado looking around there, thinking like, I don't want anyone to come back on. I've already done all this work in the first lap, so should I jump again? That's typically where the younger riders start to think without the experience, but the older riders are saying like, hey, let's just pull the reins here a little bit. Let's just hold tempo and kind of string these laps one after one at the same speed and same time. Whereas the young riders are thinking, someone's coming back on. I have to make an attack or I have to jump away.
Through this fast section, Ali Chemeri Azufi leading through there, and again just trying to battle back here. Thanks all of you for checking in. Westman Cook from Adelaide in South Australia, thanks for saying hi. And Biddings just talking about Mariana Voss, who will come back into racing for the Etias Cross next week. A lot of excitement around that, adding another Dutch rider to the front. Annemarie Verst, is she going to try a little bit of an attack as Alvarado comes through to the front at the end of lap 2. 8:18 was the time when we went through on the previous lap. It's Selena Alvarado now that leads this group through. 16:36 is the race racing so far. Lechner and is not far off the back of this one, just 4 seconds. That is closable there for Eva Lechner. Ellen van Looy at 9, and the gap's just starting to open. Zufi and Verdonschot come through next, followed by Christine Majerus from Bulls Dolman sitting in 10th. Van der Steener and Low Sales as Van der Steener accelerates through that section for Tartaletto Isarex. And anyone, what's your feeling here? I think Eva Lechner could get back on here, but she's got to do it, I'd say, on this 3rd lap.
Yeah, it's it's going to be a tall ask. I think right now, you know, like I said, the front runners have sort of set the tempo. They know where to go hard, where to rest, and how they're riding this track. It's going to be up to Lechner to be able to find that place where she can get 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds back on a lap or over the course of the next couple of laps to be able to bring it back. She's not out of sight, out of mind. She can see them, which gives her a lot of motivation. But yeah, being able to find that speed, unless they sit up a little bit up front, it's going to be hard for her to be able to come back. But you're right, Marty, not out of the question. As we see Brandt having trouble with this section.
Yeah, Lucinda Brand just coming to a bit of a halt in there. Alvarado through to the front. You just see the riders, the way they just drop off that bridge into the sandpit. And if you weren't with us for Erwin Viveka's interview a little bit earlier on, let's have a replay of that one. This is a sandpit in the park. So this is a park, this is a kids' sandpit. Maybe they'll introduce from Matthew van der Poel a little bit later on a sandcastle section. The kids in there making some sandcastles just to try and slow it down, just a touch, you never know. But through there, Alvarado is now on the front. Lucinda Brandt back. Aaron just checking in over on the front. Talking about drafting in cyclocross, Jeremy, and you see all the time, you can explain this as an ex-pro, that you, as you just said there, wanting to be on the front, just being able to, rather than sitting behind everyone, getting the draft, dictating the pace and keep picking your own lines.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you see Alvarado is most comfortable on the front here. Like you said, you know, driving this, really dictating the pace. She doesn't want to let it sit up. She doesn't want to see another, Eva Lechner coming back on, or another rider coming back on. So she feels like she's got the snap. She's got this opportunity here at the first half of the race to really leave her mark and make the other riders suffer. So you can see she's on the tip of the saddle. She's going as hard as she can to get some time. And Anna Maria Wurst has taken it up and jumped across to her to be able to do that. So it's definitely unique. I think something that's that we haven't talked about yet, Marty, is that no one has done this course yet, and that leaves a unique and interesting opportunity for everybody that started here today.
It's always good to be the first winner of something as well. They go into the pits now. Castelline and Brandt and Sanakant all into the pits. Eva Lechner just trying to profit from those riders going in. She'll ride onto the back of Sanakant here as she carries her speed out of that section, gets on to the back of that, but it's put a bit of distance between Anna Marie Wurst and Celine Del Carmen Alvarado. You can see both riders just choosing a different line on this long, muddy run through here as Wurst and Alvarado exit that one first, gets the front. You can see you can see already, Jeremy, a little bit of the fatigue starting to creep into the legs on some of these runs.
Like I said, yeah, a lot of explosivity and a very unique track. I think, again, these riders are riding it for the first time, and no one has done this yet as they run here past the VIP tent. It's one of those things where they went in, they took the bikes, the riders that changed bikes. So that was Casterline, Brand, and Kant, and now they've actually suffered for that. They've lost, maybe 3-4 seconds to the riders in front of them, which is not great.
Kim van der Steener, you saw going through there, very, very good runner as well as Kim van der Steener, getting into this off-canvas section. And Anna Marie Wurst, again, they're taking the low line here, so we haven't seen anyone attempting to try and ride this one. You can see the riders all taking this low line as Sanakant goes long on that one, so just taking a slightly different line, as is Eva Lechner here. They're just trying to tramp out the, you can see here, if they can just stamp out the a groove that might allow them to just keep the bike nice and high through that section and keep some speed as Van Looy just labouring up there. Zufi, Verdonschot and Majerus get into that section to the head of the race, and it's Celine Alvarado and Anna Marie Wurst is just swapping backwards and forwards here. These the two Dutch riders, and again it's just showing the bike changes going into the pits. you don't lose a huge amount of time, a lot, but here you can see the speed, and those two riders didn't go in for a bike change, and it allowed them to just open up that advantage.
Yeah, I mean, they will probably have to take a change at some point, which would, in theory, bring it back. You know, that's
If you want to join me for a ride, you can. And he's been getting some great groups that are out there. He's raising money for World Bike Relief as well. So big shout out to Dan for the money he's been raising and the kilometers that he's been putting in this week. So good to see.
Yeah, I'm scared. I'm scared. When Lloydie's been training, I'm scared. I don't want to be invited on any like holiday rides with him on Zwift or otherwise. I'm worried when he gets back on the bike, what happens.
Yes. The powerhouse, the legend that is.
That's right. That's right.
Verst and Alvarado, though, opening this gap. Lucinda Brand is just trying to find her way back. You can see where they're at through this road section. If you're just joining us, welcome aboard. It is DVB Trophy Round 3 live coverage here from the CAPS Urban Cross in Kortrijk. A lot of you asking as well, when does the men's race start? That starts on the hour, so in about just over 50 minutes time. So after the elite women's race, we have a little bit of halftime entertainment, then we come back and we cover the elite men's race live at that one. So it's in about 50 minutes time, so under an hour away from that one. Your chasing group here of Castelline, Brandt and Sanakant fighting to try and get back up to those leaders. Eva Lechner just going through your picture there as well. It's a great. I'm really enjoying it. It's a great course, this one. The first few laps, they've done a good job here.
They have done a great job. It's been unique to see this new track and to get an understanding of everything that goes on with it at race pace. As they come in here to the start-finish line, this uphill kick, you can see Alvarado trying to stick on Anna Marie Wurst's wheel here as they go up this section, putting out some big watts. But they're going as hard as they can to get away. And you have to see now Brand absolutely digging to be able to close this gap back up. Alvarado not wanting to let them get back on. You heard them talking when they came through that last section. You got just a little clip of them coming through, and you could hear Alvarado yelling to Anna Marie, come on, let's go, because there's a gap. And they both know that they've got a gap, and whether or not they're able to stick it or not, the attack and the damage that it's done to be able to get rid of Brand and Kant and Casterline that has left an impression. I'll be interested to see how the riders decide and what side of the pits they decide to go into next time they come through, as we come into this this overpass with the sand section right after it.
Lap 4 of 5, if you're asking how many laps that we're doing. And as Sanne van Passen said in our connection with our Dutch Eurosport colleagues before, she felt that it was a course for Lucinda Brand, and just a phenomenal kick up that climb. Just showed, I mean, on the road, she's a phenomenal attacking rider, Lucinda Brand, and that's what's good about this. We're just seeing the different styles of riders, the different attributes that make them the rider that they are. But this drop down into the sand has been quite tricky so far.
Yeah, it has. I mean, it's a very unique feature that I don't think the riders normally see, where you have to come down holding a lot of speed, and then you have to scrub speed and get off going downhill into a sand pit, as it is for sure a unique feature that's not traditionally in a cross. But in an urban cross, Marty, that's a feature that's in there.
I'm surprised they didn't put in the kids slide or something like that. I would have loved to see Mathieu van der Poel bumping up the steps, then riding down the slide, something like that.
Well, if you're Thibaut Nice, then you ride down it backwards.
Yeah, exactly. He's a phenomenal talent. Gave a bike. Our leading group, Lucinda Brand, back through to the front. Alvarado, Verst-Kant, and Castelline. Sanakant is almost back on to this group. Then you go back just a little over 20 seconds there to Eva Lechner, and she has been chased hard by Elliott Maria Azufi. As we go back to the front, a bit of a crash there behind. You can see three riders just coming together. We just got a glimpse there of Brand and Alvarado. Hopefully we'll get a replay of that, but it's delayed. Castelline, Kant and Verst.
That's what I was talking about, Marty. Being on the back on this race, taking 1 second to lose your focus is again, that's what's happened here. Now you see Brand, who did the work to be able to get back to Alvarado, is now turning the screws. I told you, if they get back, they're not going to be happy, and Brand definitely not happy about missing out on that time when she took that bike exchange. But Alvarado's now riding with a heavy bike, with a dirty bike, with a machine that's going to need to be switched out. So Brand is actually in the virtual, she's in the real lead, but virtually as well. If you kind of factor in that these riders are going to have to pit for new bikes, she's actually taking a big amount of time here.
Can they fight back? Brand and Alvarado. We didn't get a replay, sadly, of what happened there. Castelline gets rid of the glasses into the pits. Annemarie Verst goes in for a fresh bike. Let's have a look at this. So we just saw them getting back on. Unfortunately, I think they switched between cameras, and it looked like Verst was the rider that kind of was worst off there. Excuse the pun.
Yeah,
sorry.
she did. She was in the rear of that group there, and then it looked like maybe it was Sana that just had a little slide on one of the corners, but that's all right. It's they've still got quite a bit of racing to go here. As you see Casterline digging to get back in there. That's how this race is going to play out. It's going to play out that way in the men's race as well. You can tell that the course is so fast, it's so punchy, and so it's got so much rubber bandness to it that the riders aren't able to. It's like a criteria. If you're in the back, you're going to get rubber banded out. If you're in the front racing the race, then you're always going to stay up in the front in the washing machine. And this is very similar. It's narrow. It's got some unique features that really make it go single file, and it's got a lot of punchiness, so it's wearing the riders down.
I think out of this, what do you make of this? They're two, I mean, Alvarado, real powerhouse, but looking at the way Lucinda Brand has ridden that bridge up towards the finish each lap, I'd say in a straight out sprint between these two, I would say Brand would have the advantage in the power. Alvarado is going to have to try and just chip away at this one, maybe put in a few attacks to try and shake off Brand if she can.
I want to see that sprint with Sana Khan in it, because that's a good finish for Sana Khan if it's uphill like that. She's got a great kick on her. It'll be an exciting finish if Sana Khan's able to make it back to that front group now.
Brandt, and it's just straight right on cue there. Alvarado digging in. You can see Lucinda Brandt down on the drops. Something you don't see a huge amount in cyclocross anymore, is it? A rider down on the drops.
Not unless you're going down something real steep with your weight real far back in that lower center of gravity. No, but in this case, with a lot of drafting, a lot of kind of road-esque features to it, yeah, sure, why not? You know, the riders the riders probably train there when they're behind the motor, and you know, I think it's they're not used as frequently, but they're there to be used.
Onto the steps. Again, it could come down to the battle between Brandt and Alvarado last week as well. They really have had some great battles over the last couple of weeks. In Kochsider, it came down to the minutest of errors as Verst, Castellani can't take the steps. It was on a sand section where Alvarado managed to stay on the bike and keep riding. Lucinda Brand didn't manage to. She then went in quite hot into one of these corners, similar sort of thing to this on the grass, and went down. And that handed the first World Cup elite victory of her career to Celine Alvarado. So she is on some phenomenal form at the moment. And this chasing group, Verst, Castelline and Camp, but it looks like this one, they'll come round next time and they will get the bell. It will be one lap to go when they cross the line next time. As Sana Kant, and again, those riders, as Jeremy said, you did not want to be on the back of that group or constantly throughout this urban cross here in Kortrijk. They've been fighting for that front position in what has been a technical course. Alvarado just takes a little glance back here at Lucinda Brand.
Yeah, these are the important sections, Marty. Will Brand and Alvarado keep the pace high and prevent Annemarie Worst, Yara Castelline, and Sana Kant from coming back on? But you can see they had to sit up a little bit. They've done a big effort here, and they're having to just sit up just a little bit because of the effort that they've put in to try to sustain this gap. Alvarado knows that if she lets up the pace, that it's going to come back. So as you can see, she gets out of the saddle, punches it out of this big wide section here, as there's only one line. But Annemarie Worst really trying to drive this back and take.
It would be the battle for the third spot on the podium, but it's going to come down between these two. Can Celine Del Carmen Alvarado get rid of Lucinda Brandt on this final lap? She'll take some confidence from her great ride in Cockscheider last week in the sand. But Lucinda Brandt, who you would say would be confident in her sprinting ability.
Hey, I wouldn't say that Alvarado is a slouch in the sprint either, so I'm really looking forward if these two go to the line, what that's going to look like with, you see Brand here trying to just stay on the outside of Alvarado, because these turns are so slick and so fast as they go in and out of the shade and the sunshine here, Marty. It's, yeah, no one wants to be behind someone, as you see some really excited fans there. No one wants to be behind someone when they go down, and that's in cyclocross. When you pounce, that's when you take an opportunity. When someone has that moment, when they lose their concentration, they slip out or slide out, that is when you pounce in cyclocross. You capitalize from someone else's mistake.
On those steps, side by side as they go onto the bridge. Apologies if you are having some technical problems with the stream. Our Verstkamp and Castelline on the bridge. Can they give one last bit of power to try and close the gap down? Lucinda Brandt finds her way through to the front. Alvarado just slots in behind the Dutch champion. As they drop down the bridge here, then they'll swing down this steep bank.
There's a little look back to the grid. As they use a like an embankment from an overpass that's probably used for bikes. Now, boom, down, steep right-hander with a big rut in it as Castelline goes around that, not comfortable with the way the rut's riding. And you see Alvarado taking that wide line. Brand goes a little bit inside as they both have to hop on now here, run through this section. They're both going wide now, as you see Brand able to jump that little ditch there on that inside that's been, looks like almost twisting some riders' ankles, but you can see Alvarado quick on the feet. Brand also boom, 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 getting through this section. They're both running as hard as they can now because they know that there's not much to go before the finish.
That was a great shot there, one side of the field to the other there. Verstkamp and Castellino are in one line here. This is the final lap of the Urban Cross, the CAPS Urban Cross in Kortrijk. Brand on the front, Alvarado behind her. The lead is just swapping backwards and forwards between these two riders. The chase for the third spot on the podium between the world champion, the European champion, and the former Euro champion is behind.
Yeah, man, this is an interesting race because don't forget, Marty, it's all about time here. You know, these riders behind are all running their hearts out because they want to make sure that they don't lose a lot of time. And you can see now, oh, nope, sorry, that is a lap rider. But again, Anna Marie Wurst drilling that pace because she doesn't want to lose out on the opportunity to stay in the fight. She lost a little bit of time, but again, because this is an overall time similar to the Tour de France and how that is and how that's calculated, this isn't based on points or another ranking system. It's all based on time. So these riders behind are going absolutely as hard as they possibly can to make sure that they don't lose any excess time.
No, Yara Castelline leading going into round 3 here. Annemarie Verst was at 4 seconds. Eva Lechner was third at 1:33. Then Licia Maria Arzufi, you can see how much she is sprinting back through the field as well. But back to the head of the race, Alvarado and Brand swapping the lead backwards and forwards. Here's Arzufi. As I said, she went into this today in 4th. She's managed to catch the rider ahead of her, Eva Lechner, who started today's race series in 3rd place. Laura Vidonshot for Pau Sals and Bingo just comes into your picture, also having a strong day today.
Yeah, this is an interesting end of the race here, Marty. You see Brand now bending the tape and looking at the opportunity that she has to be able to take this win here in Kortrijk. It's a unique track, but as they decide to run down through this section around this turn, back on the machines, Brand is trying to spin this one out so that she doesn't have to take Alvarado directly to the line. She's trying to use her experience and her depth in the sport to know that this is not a great, she has the opportunity to win the sprint, but she's trying to just take everything she can out of Alvarado to make sure that she's got her, broken just a little bit to be able to try to use her experience from all of her great road racing and cyclocross racing over the years to be able to try to take this win. It'll be it's going to be interesting to see if the young, snappy Alvarado is able to take on the I'll call her a veteran in Lucinda Brand.
Certainly a veteran at 30 now, isn't it? It's one of those. But again, Alvarado, as the lead swaps backwards again, Alvarado through to the front. Over the last couple of years, we're still kind of getting used to what sort of rider she is, aren't we?
It really is true, yeah. I mean, but you got, again, almost 10 years younger than Brand, which I think is where I say that if you have 10 years of racing experience over someone else, that's significant amount. Of course, Alvarado's had an insane amount of success so far, but just does not have the same level of experience as Brand, and that may or may not matter today.
Lucinda Brand here, you can see in second wheel, came into the cyclocross season, came back in Neil and won her first outing for Telenet Bauer's Lions, the former Sunweb rider transferring across. She'll race on the road for Trek Segafredo. She rides in the winter for Telenet Bauer's Lions. Alvarado here is pushing the Dutch champion on this one, the under-23 champion, the Dutch nationals. It's always going to be an exciting affair. And now onto the road. Brand just sitting back, down onto the drops again. Has a little glance back over the top of Alvarado. Alvarado's doing exactly the right thing here, dictating the pace to Brand.
Yeah, absolutely. As you see, Brand is just licking her chop, just looking at the perfect opportunity. She goes a little bit wider. She can tell that this is coming down. You can just see the intensity on Brand. As they come into this finish stretch, Marty, Brand going on the outside, getting in the slipstream, taking it on the left side. Alvarado coming up to the finish line. It's yours, Marty.
And Lucinda Brand comes over the top, powers through. Brand takes the sprint. Lucinda Brand for Suzine Del Carmen. Alvarado led that one out. Now the battle for the third spot on the podium, and it's Verst from Count from Castelline here. Anna-Marie Verst looks like she's going to take it, but Sana Kant trying to find her way back. It's Anna-Marie Verst that takes the third spot. Lucinda Brand from Alvarado, Verst, Kant and Castelline. That is your top five across the line, and Alvarado led out. She did everything that she could there.
Yeah, what a great end of the race there. It was awesome to see Brand using that road experience and really that power, Marty, to be able to take it right over the top there and punch through. As we see now, Alice Arzoufi coming in, keeping that time really close and staying in this overall.
Arzoufi chasing down those seconds. As you said, it's done on accumulated time this series, and she's come past her fellow compatriot from Italy, Ava Lechner, crosses the line for 7th, so 6th and 7th for the Italians at 58 seconds. Laura Verdonschott is going to be the next rider, and it's going to be Kim van der Steener that's coming home in 9th place, and a good finish. Christine Majerus from Bulls Dolmans. Bull Dolmans who takes 10th place, and then it's going to be Lo Cels coming across the line in 11th place. I'll keep with this one, so 1 minute and 20 seconds. What a sprint. That gives a great sprint finish this course. Ellen van Looy comes in for a 12th place today. And Lucinda Brand, it was going to be tough to try and take a sprint against Lucinda Brand on that sort of finish.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have to say, it wasn't necessarily about experience or not, Alvarado. It does look like the flags are flying with a headwind. So, yeah, of course, Brand capitalized probably a little bit from being in the slipstream to start, but she played it perfectly. It's hard to say if it was experience or just straight power output, but at this type of finish, at this level, it is about 1% here, 1% there. So, yeah, very well played by Brand to take a nice win on a brand new course, an exciting track, as we see a ton of fans out today, Marty, enjoying the sunshine in Belgium.
Yeah, great day out. So in terms of it's a good day for the weather as well. Beautiful sunny day. It's only 6 to 7 degrees Celsius, which is about 43 to 45 Fahrenheit. It is a headwind, but not huge. Is that Casablanca Vass? I think that's just come in there as well. So just outside the top 10 for the rider from Hungary. We'll look for that one. All of the fans making their way down towards the podium. So Lucinda Brand, what a start to the season. First in Neil, second, and here she is.
Pittig sprintje en je wint zoals je teammanager Sven Nys voorspeld had.
Ja, nou ja, het komt niet vanzelf, maar het is wel heel fijn dat ik dan zijn voorspelling waar kan maken.
Je begon aan dat sprintje in tweede positie en toch was het geen probleem om de rollen om te draaien.
Klopt, sprintje bergop is lastig, maar dan kan ik wel goed mijn kracht kwijt. En er stond niet veel wind, maar een heel klein beetje en dan stond op de kop daar. En dan komt toch een beetje de wegervaring denk ik om de hoek kijken, ja.
Veldritten die gewonnen worden in de sprint, ze gebeuren niet zo vaak. Hoe zit dat bij jou?
Nee, ja, voor mij ook niet. Niet in het veld en niet op de weg. Maar ja, het is ook wel mooi om op deze manier naar de finish te gaan. En nog extra spanning voor iedereen, ook voor ons natuurlijk.
Ja, absoluut, stadscross, parkcross, maar er zat een loopstrook in om u tegen te zeggen.
Ja, klopt. Het deed me een beetje denken aan Surreis TV. Dat is ook altijd heel snel, behalve de strook bij de materiaalzone, die dan tot je enkels in de blubber. En dat was zeker niet makkelijk hier, nee.
Wat betekent deze eerste seizoensoverwinning voor jou?
Het is de tweede, maar net zoveel als de eerste. Het is gewoon super mooi en elke overwinning is heel erg fijn. Daar werk je hard voor en dat is altijd leuk.
Eerste klassementscross, je hebt al gewonnen in Niel. En een klassementscross erbij voor jou?
Ja, klopt. Ja, goed, kijk, hier staan gewoon dan ook nog een keer veel meer toppers aan de start. Dus dat spreekt dan misschien nog net iets meer aan.
Dankjewel en gefeliciteerd Felicinda Brandt. Dan gaan we door met de tweede van de dag. Ceylin Alvarado, dat sprintje.
Highlights of the Urban Cross here in Kortrijk. The Caps Urban Cross, the opening lap, a fast but a great technical circuit that the riders had ahead of them. Eva Lechner got a great start. Behind there, riders coming into the sandpit. It was Yara Castelline that went through. Started to make up this leading group with Annemarie Verst. Alvarado made her move. Castelline, Sanakant and Lucinda Brand, and it really was a race between this group of riders. 777 looking again to have a strong day out. They've had such a season so far. Lucinda Brand, a little problem in the sand, but it allowed Alvarado to come through to the front. And again, just came down to those bike changes that just allowed the leading duo of Verst and Alvarado to go clear. But the chasing group behind would find their way back.
As you see here, Marty, it was Alvarado, and then it was Brand. As you heard in her post-race interview, it was a unique situation where when they went into the pits, they got a gap, and Brand was able to take that back. It was a small error on I believe on Sanakant's part, and that it opened up the gap, and then it was Alvarado and Brand, and it was left up to this trio here to be able to close it back up. As you see, Brand here trading back and forth with Alvarado, but it was the chase was in sight but just out of reach for those riders that were coming back. But this race, all about time, not at all about the finish. As you see here, coming up on the sprint, this was the end of the finish. Alvarado leading it out with a small headwind today here in the Urban Cross in Kortrijk, but it was Lucinda Brand able to put out the power, even though she had to come back from a lot of adversity in today's race. She was able to take the win here in Kortrijk. And then it's the chase group with Annemarie Worst, Sanakant, and Yara Casterline. A lot of jerseys, a lot of depth in this group, but it was Annemarie Worst really just taking out this sprint finish as maybe as a sign of things to come.
Great race. They had Annemarie Verst making up that third spot on the podium, but the power between Lucinda Brand and Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, and it's another strong performance from Telenet Baloise Line. Sven Nys has got to be super happy with that signing, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, you heard in that interview with Renat, the infamous Belgian commentator Renat Schoot, that he was saying something along the lines of like, Sven Nys is ecstatic about this, or is something along those lines. So I'm sure that they're going to be really, really happy with this finish today.
They are indeed, but Alvarado and Brand, the battle that they had last week as well in Koksijde was great. But Lucinda Brand just seems to slot back into cyclocross with like consummate ease again, doesn't she?
Yeah, I mean, it's once you pick it up, once you get in the rhythm of the season, I think that she's as strong as she's ever been. She's potentially better than other seasons. So it's phenomenal to see her come right back in, put her name at the front in the top of the leaderboards. It seems like she's very happy in the new team and in the new setup. She's enjoying all of the equipment, and she's excited about what's to come. So that's great. You want to see a rider of her caliber with a very good setup.
Okay, we'll bring you back again when we come back after our halftime. Before we lead into the men's race, which is in just over 25 minutes time, we'll bring you some highlights and the podiums of the women's race. For a little halftime entertainment today, we have a little preview of our next podcast. How to change bikes in the pits from Jeremy, and also an interview with Erwin Vervecken. Join us. We'll be back soon.
Is there a rider in particular that you looked up to? Because you're in Belgium, you're in the capital. I have to imagine that you grew up just like I did, watching Sven Nys, although you're much closer to him in age than I am, and Bart Wellens and Erwin Vervecken, all of these superstars of cyclocross. Was that something that you saw on TV as a young kid growing up?
Yes, indeed. We looked every race on the television, and after the race we tried to imitate them, also in our home garden. And I remember my brother often played, or he was doing that. He was Sven Nys, and I was in that time Tom van Oppen, and we raced against each other. And we also have to let each other win sometimes. And if Tom van Oppen was before Sven, then I must be before Thijs. And we played that way. It was just a game and not a real race that we do.
That's awesome. Let's talk about Thijs a little bit, because when we ran into each other at the Trek Cup, for anyone that doesn't know, before the World Cup, there's a Category 2 race that happens on Trek's ground. It's the warm-up race, but it's still a really big race because there's a lot of riders there from all over the world racing and taking a shot. We were chatting a little bit about about the sun shining. It was a nice day. It was really pretty out. But the thing that I thought was cool was that you were out there cheering your brother on.
Yeah, indeed. He's racing. Also the category race, the category 2 race in Iowa, and I was there also as a supporter for him and as giving him some good advice during the race, and also in Waterloo when we see each other. And for me it's also special to when I'm not racing and he is, that I can help him, and also that I can see what he's doing. We train a lot together often. Also today we played a little bit in the sand together, so we are helping each other with a lot of things, but we also need each other to train well. So
now we started a discussion this week on the GCN Racing News Show, and we've had some really interesting feedback from viewers. So I'd really like to get your take on it. And the big question that we had was, who is the greatest cyclocross rider of all time? So we pitted Erik de Vlaming, we had Sven Nys, we had Mathieu van der Poel, Marianne Vos, and Sana Kant. So I'd be interested through your career and growing up. Who would you say, we might have those, but there may be others. Who do you think is the greatest of all time, or are we watching it now?
Good question. I think it's a very difficult question, for the simple reason that if you talk about the men's cyclocross, Erik de Vlaming, he rode end of the 60s, early 70s, and at that time, because I've been speaking to a lot of these riders, he was the national coach in my early years. And they just did local races. I heard that even on a general weekend, on a Sunday, an average Sunday, there were 2 or 3 races in Belgium. So even the better riders in Belgium didn't compete against each other every weekend. The only thing which was, the top race at that time was the World Championships, and he won it 7 times. So if you have to evaluate and balance his career, you have to count the world titles, because it was the only race who really mattered. All the rest were just local races, a few international races, but there was no World Cup, there was no Super Prestige, and there was no DVV series. So at that time, the World Championships was the one who counted, and he was for sure the best of his in these decades of his let's say his period. Then early 80s, you had Roland Liboton. He won World Championships 5 times, Super Prestige 4 times. Super Prestige started when he was think 25, 26. He was also the best of his period. Of course, Sven has been winning a lot. He has the biggest career so far. But Mathieu is going well, and you never know where he will end. I think Mathieu, if he continues to do the same for the next 10 years, Mathieu is at this moment 24, I think. Yeah, 24. So he has at least 10 years to go. If he continues like that, yeah, he will for sure have the biggest career, most wins, most world titles, and everything you want. But it's still very early, so it's hard to compare them. I know that at the end of Sven's career, there was the big question, who was the best? I think it's hard to compare Erik de Vlaming, for instance, with Sven. Sven was in a period where everything was going live on television. Also, social media came up, a lot of more exposure compared to the time when Erik rode, where it was much smaller. But he won 7 times the world championship, so hard to compare.
Now, one thing I would like to ask you as well is when you compare those riders through the ages, and we compare different times and even through your career, and when you're looking at courses and designing courses now, how much has equipment changed the way a course is ridden, with disc brakes and stopping distance and the gearing and with carbon frames and tire technology? How much has that changed courses? And now with sort of older traditional courses, are you having to change them, and are organisers having to change them because of the movement in technology?
Well, no, we don't design a course because technology has changed. But what I've seen is that if you see images of Roland Lebeton, the cyclocross races in the 80s, you saw them always running. And the reason was the tubulars at that time, they were 28 millimeter wide. So from the moment there was a bit of mud, you went deep into the mud and you had to run. Frames were at that time, in the beginning, from steel and then from aluminium. Carbon frames only started to be built, I don't know, mid-90s, I think, if I'm correct. Now, tubulars, yeah, the only thing you need is power and condition, of course.
If you have to go in the pits in cyclocross, it's not something that you do all the time. And if you've been an amateur cyclocross rider for a long time, well, then you've probably had a husband or a wife, a boyfriend, girlfriend, cousin, brother-in-law. Someone has had to go into the pits for you. It's good to have the skills to be able to tell your pit crew, although they might be inexperienced, some tips so you guys have a good day out there. And that is what we're going to do today. One of the unique aspects of cyclocross is bike exchanges, but it's something that you can't do unless you have a pit crew, which is why I brought my friends John and Chris to help me out today. So John and Chris have never been in the pits before, so it's important to be able to explain a couple of things to them before you guys go out there so that you have a flawless day out on the cross course. So the first thing that you want to do is get a lay of the land of the course and make sure that you know where you're coming in and where your pit crew is going to be. The worst thing that you can do is come into the pits and have no idea where your pit crew is. So you want to make sure that you guys settle on a location that you're going to be at. All right, guys, so we're in the pit, and the thing that we're going to be doing here on this course, virtually, we're going to be coming down the hill here, and then I don't want the bike to be in a super heavy gear, because if I get on the bike and it's in the biggest gear that I've got, then I got to go back up this hill. That's not going to be good for anyone.
Not even with those thighs?
Hey.
Yeah, we don't want to sabotage him.
You guys are going to be great. When I'm out there doing my pre-ride laps, then we're going to come through, we'll check out what gear makes sense, and then we'll both be on the same page for when we're out there in race mode.
Cool. Right, I reckon we can nail this. Let's do it.
All right, boys, so this is what I'm thinking. Come down here. Chris.
Yeah.
First thing that you want to do, in theory, you're going straight to the power washer with the bike.
Straight to the lake.
So I come in, I drop the bike off to you, boom, bike's gone. Bike's gone before I even get this from John. And John, I'm gonna put my hands here, and then I don't wanna be grabbing a brick. So I want you to give it just a little nudge, okay? So just give me a little push so that I'm not catching a big brick, you know what I mean? I don't wanna be coming in with a ton of speed.
Just a little bit of momentum, right?
Exactly, just a little momentum. And that is super, super important because, well, if you've ever tried to grab something that's standing still while you've got momentum, it's not a good look.
No.
One, two, three, pit!
Yeah!
Okay, so it's really important to have good communication with your pit crew before the race, of course after the race as well, but definitely during the race is key. You don't want to come into the pits and not have your mechanics know exactly what the problem with your bike is. If you have a rear flat, say rear flat. If you've got a problem with your rear derailleur, rear derailleur. If there's bars are loose, bars are loose. Something very simple. So, okay, boys.
Okay, here he comes.
What's the problem? Rear derailleur, rear derailleur, rear derailleur.
Okay, right, go fix that, OP. I've done enough in my time.
Yo.
Okay, right, he signalled. He's got a flat. Oh, no. Oh, no. Joris is going to have to change that quick. Right, he's coming in.
Looks like a problem.
What's up?
Oh, rear derailleur.
Rear derailleur. You forgot to let us know. Good job, we're experienced.
So there's some things that you should never do to your pit crew. Dropping off a bike without telling them what's wrong, spiking a bike. Tensions usually are high during the race. There's a lot of adrenaline, but keeping your cool is one of the most important things that I can give you guys as a tip. Don't go in there acting like a hothead, being crazy. You gotta keep your cool. You gotta be chill, let your mechanics know, let them know what's going on, and never ever spike the bike or drop it or throw it into a mechanic. Not a good look.
It's okay, next lap is good. He's going well today, isn't he?
He's looking good.
Yeah.
And that's perfect communication with your pit crew. I've ditched my bike that's not working correctly. The pit crew has cleaned it, tuned it up, and now I'm ready to go. Sometimes in a really muddy cross race, you won't be getting off the bike, you'll actually be running with it when you go into the pit. You run into it, off it goes with the catcher with Chris. John's got the bike by the seat tube and by the bars. He's got it up in the air for me. I grab it in the running position and off I go.
Yeah. I feel like I want to go out for a run with him. What I'm worried about is he's going to come round and he's going to sort of sling his leg over into my face, but it's all right. Right, so it's being washed. Right, you've got to run off to that. No.
Coming in.
Here he is. Hey, come on, 15 seconds. See, I've learnt that as well. You've got to give them just a bit of information. Doesn't matter if it's false or real, but you've got to just motivate him. There's a Preem next to Ronda. Okay, €15 on the line.
Preem next to Ronda.
Yeah. That's next lap.
Oh, I got the next bit.
Yeah.
So that is a perfect day in the pits. I want to say thank you to you guys. Appreciate the help. That was amazing. You guys were a fantastic first-time pit crew. If you guys liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think of Chris and John, how they did. Guys, thank you. You want to get some beers?
Yeah!
What a great video. It's really fun. I love John Canning's acting in that one as a Preem next to Rondo. Love that, John. Great one. I hope you're enjoying our halftime entertainment. Remember, we want to hear from you. We want to put some compilations together. You can do that on the new GCN app. There's an uploader on there, or you can do it on the website as well. We want your content out, you taking in what Jeremy's teaching the halftime shows. We want to see you out there racing. And we also want to see how you're set up. How are you watching our cyclocross coverage here on GCN Racing? Are you kicking back with a few beers and some frites and mayonnaise? Are you on Zwift on the turbo doing some training? Are you all watching it together? Send us some little video clips saying hi. We want to hear from you. And remember, don't forget, subscribe to the channel as well. We'd appreciate it if you could do that for us. Welcome back. We're not far away now from the elite men's race here in the CAPS Urban Cross in Kortrijk. Before we get into today's action, let's look back at the DVV Trophy so far. What a series it has been so far. The Koppenberg Cross, one of my favourites. I'm going to welcome back Jeremy Powers to our coverage today. Jeremy, it's been a great round so far. Elliott a bit leading overall. Let's take a look at the DVV standings. It's a series that's done on a cumulative time rather than points, and it's giving us some great racing, isn't it? Because you've got to chase all the way to the line. Can't sit back and just think, I got some points here.
No, and I think that there's quite a few riders that are in the overall hunt right now. And yeah, it's been one of those things where even in the women's side, Marty, you're just seeing that the riders really continue to fight because they don't want to lose time. You know, they want to stay in the contention overall. As you see, Elite Iservit, almost 2 minutes back now. Michael van Tornhout, Lars van der Haar at 2:28, Toon Aerts at 3:08, and Tom Meissen 3:11.
Tim Malier in 6th. He's a rider that I'm thinking of could be a good one for these power courses. Matthew van der Poel coming in as well, and you can see already closing that gap because if you don't start a round, you automatically lose 5 minutes, don't you?
Yeah, which is what we talked about last time. It's an opportunity for Van der Poel to really take a big gain, as we saw in Hama. He wants to win by as big a margin as absolutely possible to be able to claw his way back. So today on this track, going to be really hard because it's so fast and so quick for him to be able to find a minute plus to be able to take out. So Vervekken and the Galazzo guys that have really put this race course together here today have definitely thrown him for a loop on being able to take back a ton of time in one round.
Now, if you don't want to know what happened in the women's race, if you haven't watched that yet, you're going to go back and watch that later. Remember, all of our coverage is available on demand. You can watch that whenever you want. So you can look away in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We had a great elite women's race, and it came down to a sprint between Lucinda Brandt and Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, taking her second victory in the colours of Telenet Bauer's Lions. Lucinda Brandt and these two were doing battle in the Coxside World Cup last week. There was your top 10. Lucinda Brandt from Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, Annemarie Verst taking third, Castellano, Zufi Lechner, Donschott, Van der Steen, and great seeing Christine Majerus up there in 10th place as well. Sven Nys going to be happy with his signing. There is your podium, Brandt, Alvarado, and then Verst. And yeah, happy days for Sven Nys. But on to today, Jeremy, let's have a little chat through the start list. It's difficult to look beyond Matthew van der Poel, isn't it?
It is, yeah. He's had a great year. I mean, I think we were talking, probably has 35 wins in a row so far. He's undefeated from last season into this year. So, yeah, definitely going to be surprising if he's not at the front end of affairs. But then there's Toon Aerts, Michael van Tornhout, Lars van der Haar, Lauren Sweck, Carne van Kessel, Marcel Meissen, Yanni Vermeersch, David van der Poel.
Of course, now, Erwin Vervekken, it's right down in the city for those viewers that weren't with us for the elite women's race. But it just shows what you can do with what you have available, because we're into the kids' playground where they've got the sand. It's across the two bridges, the big roundabouts. It's something quite unique.
Yeah, every time I'm driving around in town or somewhere else, I think in my head, that'd be a good cross course. And I'm sure that for sure Erwin Verwecken's doing that. And he goes to downtown Kortrijk probably to get a coffee, just like I used to do. And he said, you know what? This is where we're going to put a cyclocross race on. I'm sure that's not how it happened at all. But it would be, it's you have to get creative, and you have to start to bring these races to the people. Being so close to the train station, being so close to downtown, I think it's a really good look for cyclocross. And I think it's a nice way in this world that we're living in now to bring the race to the people.
I think looking at the way the course has been ridden so far, there's a certain sections that could prove quite decisive. I don't know what you think, but that little step-up section onto the bridge, it could come down to the sort of rider that starts to feel that they can just clear that in kind of just by bunny hopping their way up to it and just carrying their speed.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the status quo for the men's race. I think you'll see a lot of riders, jumping that, bunny hopping into that section and kind of just making their way through those little stairs. But if you haven't seen the course yet, it is very unique. There's a lot of on-off, very punchy sections, really a lot of big, long power straights. Definitely something that is going to suit quite a few riders here today, the fast, punchy guys. But I have to say that there's a unique sand section that you come down, you go over this little overpass, you're off the bike, and then you fly down, you come into a 180 sand pit, and that section has given a lot of riders trouble. And there's quite a few of them out there. There's a lot of interesting and exciting features on this track that are going to make for a good race today in the men's side.
They have a look at the course now. Let's have a look at the course graphic. So you can see we have on the bridge, we have this fast start, and then it's down into that roundabout section and then back out into the technical sections.
Yeah, and it's crisscrossing the a famous river there. We're going right through downtown, and they're using a new park that has just been built, and then they've properly, only in Belgium, decided that it's just fine to tear it up. That's no problem at all. Just tear the park up, we'll fix it. And but they're using a bunch of bike paths, actual roads. They've closed down the road and they've used a roundabout. Some of this, Marty, looks a little bit like a little bit like a Tour de France stage when they go around, all these different. We'll call them obstacles in the road.
Yeah, I'm really liking it. There's another confirmation of our top 10 in the DVV Trophy overall. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. That all helps us to be able to continue to bring you our phenomenal live cyclocross action. Here down on the start line, and Lars van der Haar, Felipe Orts behind him. He could be one today. Felipe Orts is a really, really good technical rider. Michael van Torenhout is alongside him. Toon Aerts, the man you caught up with in last week's podcast interview.
Fantastic podcast with Toon Aerts. It was great to be able to chat with him and get to know him in English, so I really appreciated that. Here we have Laurens Sweck having a phenomenal season, and his teammate now, Elliott Iserbyt, also having a fantastic year. This could be something for Elliott Iserbyt.
It could be indeed. Matthew van der Poel alongside him. You see the rainbow bike is right next to him. And then Corne van Kessel getting a front row start here. Another good start position for Corne van Kessel. He's been really solid this year. There's Tim Leie, you can see just behind him, and Marcel Meissen, the German champion for Condon Circus. That man there, he's my tip. I hope I'm not giving him the GCN curse, but Tim Leie is my man of the day.
I love that. Yeah, Tim Elliott, the Belgian national road champion last weekend in Koksijde, had an error but able to make his way through the field, finish up in the top 10, and is on a great streak of form, been hitting the podium. As we see here, they've got about 20 seconds to go. You can see the anticipation on the riders' eyes as we get going here. The first time for everyone here at the Kortrijk Cross. This is the first time they see the start and the first time they go hard on this track in race pace.
Mathieu van der Poel just adjusting his watch. We are off and racing. The world champion, you can see straight out of the blocks. The road start will really suit him. You see Tony Arts glancing across. Tim Merlier riding the barriers there as the riders just get alongside him. But Van der Poel has got this front position as they go into the roundabout at the bottom.
Yes, they come around this roundabout. It is a, again, like I said, this is the Tour de France section of the course where you see all the cyclocross peloton going around the roundabout here in downtown Kortrijk as they make their way to this section that goes right along this canal/river, and they go underneath this overpass. This is the section, Mario, where they come out. But you see Van der Poel not taking any chances here on this first-time track at race pace, really wants to be driving this from the get today.
He has. The world champions got this front position as they come into this little run-up section here. Sweek right behind him. And Tysarts has also got a good start here. As Tom Meissen has as well. There's Felipe Orts just going through. Malier's got some work to do to try and come back up to the front. And Meissen didn't quite have the power onto this drop now. This is the drop down into the sand.
Yeah, this is the drop down into the sand, that 180, and you saw a lot of riders having problems in the women's race with this section, but looking like the men are not having problems, although there looks like a little bit of a bottleneck as they fly into this, not scrubbing a ton of speed. But I was going to say, Marty, here we go with the start, and Van der Poel on the barriers there, but Merlier just getting knocked. You can tell that this is a fast downhill start, which nobody likes when you're in cyclocross. It's just a big opportunity for an injury, big crash, but that's what they had to work with. It makes for a beautiful finish line, but it definitely is a frighteningly fast start.
Mathieu van der Poel leading out now from Elliott Isabet, Laurens Sweek, Tysarts, Corne van Kessel, Lars van der Haar not far from the front now. Felipe Orts, the Spanish champion, as Isabet tries to come through to the front, starts to dictate the pace. Back to Van der Poel, and on this opening lap here, the riders just as we go onto this little step section. There we have it. I said yes. First riders to bunny hop up it there.
Yeah, as you see some of the riders jumping, but you see Isabet punching out of these turns. I have to say that Isabet and Sweek are dangerous on this course. This is a course that suits both of them, and I'm sure that they know it. Sweek definitely riding, I would say, the season, one of his best seasons. And yeah, I'm sure that he and Isabet, I'm not surprised at all to see them in first and third right now with Van der Poel sandwiched in between. This is something that they definitely have thought about before the race kicked off and said this is possible. As you see a problem here in this little tight turn section. Oof.
Isabet into the pits for a bike change. Van der Poel calmly through to the front, so they've got to be careful as well of letting Van der Poel even get a few meters in this one. It's Richard Mass there from Ireland. Got a bit of a problem as the Irish rider. That's a shame on the opening lap into this running section. Van der Poel on the front. Sweek drops the bike. He's the first rider to remount. Van der Poel looks like he's going to carry on with the run here.
Yeah, Isabet going in for a pit there on the first lap. We were talking about tire pressure in the women's race for sure. Isabet running a harder pressure in the start straight to be able to get a little bit better start and have a little bit more speed coming on off that road section. Then decides that halfway through the first lap he's going to pit. So as you see here, Toon Aerts coming in for a bike exchange. No problem for the Belgian champ. Boom, right on the machine. Also probably opted for some higher pressure in that start straight.
It looks like he's lost quite a bit of time onto the off-camber section, up and down that one. Let's have a look at this. Anyone managing to stay on the bike? No one's managed to do it so far. That was an interesting choice of line there.
Yeah, I think Corne van Kessel might have thought, okay, I don't have this one quite right. I might go back down to avoid having to get off on this slippery off-camber. That wouldn't have been possible. Then went back down and kind of came up. As you see, Van der Haar almost riding it. This is one of those sections where, in pre-ride, when you're fresh, no problem to ride it. If you've got a nice straight shot at it, you probably have enough power. However, you can't ride it 10 out of 10 times. You're just gonna be losing speed and time. So as we see Isabet here fighting with what looks like, I believe, to be Corne van Kessel for the front of the race here, and you see Van der Poel now in third place.
Elliott Isabet comes through to the front. Right behind him now, this leading group, Van der Poel in third position. The opening lap here. Thanks for getting on board, all of you. To give you a few shout outs to different riders from different countries. Good to your Hemis, and Benoit Beaumal from France. We have Max Judelson from the USA. Timothy O'Regan is wearing 36 from Ireland. Michael Butler, 35 from Great Britain. Richard Moore, the Irish rider, over as well. Richard Mass, that we saw having to pull out. Oscar Hutchings is over there as well from my old club, VC Venter from Winchester. Good to see Oscar Hutchings, a young rider, getting in there as well. Jake Wormersley from Great Britain. David Menu, the French rider. As Yuba Safer, the Albanian champion, just getting a real play. Tonarts not having a best start to this race today. So those are some of the riders from other parts of the world. And just a little chat over on the forum from Fons, who types in capitals, which always means I always think someone's shouting. We always do our best in terms of the pronunciations. Dutch and Belgian names are it's notoriously difficult to pronounce, so yeah, we do our best. It's one of those things. Welcome aboard. This is the Urban Christian, comes onto the front and back onto the road.
Yeah, Van der Poel not wanting to see Felipe Orts and Thijs Aerts kind of tacking together at the end of that group with Nicolas Kleppe and Toon Aerts coming across.
Kleppe and Arts just off the back with Van der Haar front group. And good to see that this front group now has come back together. Great to see the Spanish champion getting himself in there. Felipe Orts, great rider there, and you can see in that very light blue jersey with the red and yellow bands. He's a great technical rider. When we were at the World Cup in Bern, he was the only rider able to bunny hop the barriers in that one. This group, and again the fast course, Tim Elliott has got himself up there. Michael Van Toren out on the front. Corne van Kessel now, the lead just swapping backwards and forwards through this group. Great thing here, Jeremy, as a group swells in numbers even more as Toon Aerts and Lars van der Haar get back on. So many different teams represented in here, and we've seen over the course of the last few weeks team tactics really starting to play into these races.
Yeah, this is a unique situation, not as controllable as usual, but Van der Poel has a teammate up there now, so that's good news. But definitely, I think right now this is a little bit similar or reminiscent of the European Championships, especially speaking about Van der Poel directly, as we see now Corne van Kessel, Michael Van Torenhout, Tim Merlier coming through in that first three there. But it's reminiscent of the European Championships in that it's a very fast track. It's a course that you can't take a lot of time on. You're going to have to find your space. And I think that some of the riders, particularly about Van der Poel, is going to be looking at where he can gain an advantage and where he can take a little bit of a profit. As you hear the Belgian fans singing a good Belgian chant there as they have a beer and some Fritz here on Saturday over in Kortrijk.
And a little bounce on the side there from Van Toren out. You can just see the and Felipe Orts does the same. Nice little skill there from Felipe.
Yeah, for sure. The only thing you got to worry about there is a broken rim, as we see one of the what we'll call that a Belgian yacht going through there. But as they go over the overpass, crossing over the river, coming into this second half of the track, they come down for this steep section as Michael Van Torenhout saying, I'm taking this one here first, hitting that line on the inside. Everybody wants to hit that line. That's allowing them to kind of go across this technical section. No one's messing with Van der Poel as Orts comes through, and Michael Van Torenhout maybe jumping to the front there because he knew he needed to take a bike exchange. Takes it on the, we'll call it the goofy side. Corne van Kessel takes the lead back over.
It's a bit like surfing, isn't it? Like going goofy on your dismount.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I mean, the one thing that's nice is when they hit that section, they get a nicer line going into the next section. So if they hit the pit, they do get a more straight shot through that muddy section. But as you can see, this is just that really deep, muddy section through the VIP as they make their way towards the last half of this track.
So there's Thijs Aerts going through just ahead of Lars van der Haar. Everyone's sprinting through these sections, and that's what this has given us, is a very sort of lot more running than we see quite a lot in cross. But Mathieu van der Poel and David van der Poel are together. you can see at the moment. And a little shout out, got to give a little shout out to ASE Racing on their initiative to get 100 kids on bike at the Southern Regional Cyclo-cross Championship. So it's hashtag 100 kids on bikes at the Southern Regional Championships. So good effort, Andy Smith and the team over there, to try and get 100 kids along to the regional championship. So thanks for getting on board, all of you. If you haven't seen the news as Lars van der Haar just comes to a halt there, the return of Wout van Aert on the 27th of December for the Lowenhout race. And a good fight out at the front. Good to see Tim Merlier up here. And these two just battling the Belgian champion. Could it be a course today that really suits the power of Tim Merlier? He's had some health problems last winter where he said he wasn't quite at his best. I was reading Newsblad in the week. He said he had that sort of parasite infection in his stomach last winter, and he felt a little bit out of sorts. Certainly had a great road season, taking that Belgian Road Championship. Could he potentially add that Belgian cyclocross title to that road title onto the front here? And we saw his first podium in a while, a week or so ago. Van der Poel at the moment here, Jeremy, would you say kind of content to maybe sit back and watch how this race is unfolding?
I think so. I think right now he's letting a lot of riders maybe tucker themselves out. It's not a great track to be able to pass on. I think he's figuring out, where is there an opportunity? Where can I get some time? Where do I feel most confident in this track? And yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's feeling like he's not going fast at all. Maybe he feels like he's on the limit right now. It's really hard to tell, but with such a single track, fast course like this, there's just not a lot of time to be able to take. But as we've seen at the Euro Champs in Hama, as the last half of this race comes up, it'll be like he hasn't even, or seemingly in the past, it's been able to seem like he hasn't even started the race yet. You're halfway through and he lays down something that's just, unimaginable, and he's able to take a huge gain in one lap. So it'll be interesting to see what Van der Poel decides to do with this one here today, as they've never raced this track, an all-new track, the capped urban cross in Kortrijk, Belgium, for the DVV Trophy.
Just a little shout out to Martin Kovaček over there in the Czech Republic. They've got the Toy Cup today, the National Cyclocross Cup, but they're no broadcasting for that, unfortunately. But it's that's a great series as well. A lot of riders head over there to the Czech Republic. There's been had some powerhouses of cyclocross over the years. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, subscribe to GCN Racing, our cyclocross coverage over the winter. We have so much road stuff as well throughout the season. Your leader here is Tim Merlier from Koning van Kessel, and this leading group still plenty of riders represented in here for Telling at Bauer's Lines. Tonart after that first lap bike change. Felipe Orts, the Spanish rider. It's great to see another nation in there. He's been kind of there and thereabouts, still only about 23, as Swake comes through to the front, just rides the rails of that road furniture onto this start-finish section, and it's the Pau Sausen Bingo rider, Laurent Swake, that's attacking up the start-finish straight here. Has a little glance back to see where Tim Merlier is, and the end of lap 2, 14 minutes and 32. Merlier, Van Kessel, Isabit, Van der Poel, Van Torenhout, Orts. It's all clicking through. David Van der Poel's on a great day again.
I mean, this is a course for the fast riders. If you like it fast, this is something for you. You licking your chops, thinking about what's possible here. When people go down on fast tracks, it's usually hard and it's fast and it's a lot of time all at the same time. So these riders not sitting up at all of them very accomplished road riders. A lot of them, especially Sweet, Van der Poel, obviously Tim Merlier, all have a ton of experience racing on the road, and they're going to use that experience to be able to make the most of this track. But one thing that I noticed, Marty, is just how fast they're going on these off-road sections with the slick grass all matted down, that Belgian soil just holding the water in. It really, when I saw Toon Aerts come around that corner, it gave me a sense of just how fast this track is in certain sections. You come off these road sections, you make the transition into, right there, it looks like there's a footpath, which is maybe made from some type of, like pea dust or some type of sand, and then they come down. But there's so many different types of underground here that the riders are facing and coming into them at high speed. I have to believe that some of them just don't feel 100% comfortable yet on the track.
No, lap 3, and this group is still it's larger than we've seen for a while, isn't it? This group still very much together, and the power of Sweek along the side of the canal here again just takes the opportunity to just take a little glance back. There's Van der Poel just sat in the group just ahead of Van Torenhout and Toenaerts.
Yep, this is what I'm talking about. I thought Sweek would do very well on this track, very explosive, something that he would definitely be excited about. And then also Easterbait, and I think Easterbait is kind of sitting back, letting Sweek do the damage, letting the other riders clean up anything that he's doing. He's leaving just a small gap, and Van der Poel is just off the pace. But if you look at the entire length, he's not out of sight, out of mind at all. But he does have quite a few bike lengths to be able to kind of claw up if he wants to make an attack. So just being that far back, he's already at a disadvantage, as we see Toenaerts and Felipe Orts jump and ride over those concrete stairs there.
Yeah, nice little bounce up there you saw from the Toenaerts, Felipe Orts and Michael Van Torenhout all through that section over the top of the bridge, and it's great for the spectators. They can see a lot of the course leading group, giving us a great race. This is lap 3. Mathieu Van der Poel goes through. There's Toenaerts. The riders just trying to find their way back. There's not, as they go into the pits, there's not a huge amount of places to pass here. Again, the pit section could become quite decisive, would you say, as this race goes on?
Yeah, as you see Van der Poel deciding to not take a bike there. Almost looks like he let up a little bit off the pace, took the wide line, now off the bike, Belgian cyclocross.
That was a fun race. I used to love coming and watching Cross Vegas. It looks through this section as well. Van der Poel's finally bunny hopping that. He's been running that full section for the last few laps.
Yeah, I was wondering if he had an injury or he was worried about something with his bike. I'm not sure. I was surprised to not see him, A, riding the stairs, and then B, not riding the barriers. But definitely, like I said before, at the Euro Champs and in Hama, becoming more familiarized with the track, taking notes, and then obviously pushing the boundaries. As we see everybody now here running this off-camber section. You know, Marty, this course has a lot of on and off. Like, you're on the bike, you're off the bike. You're explosive on the road sections. You're up at high speed, long power section. Back off the bike. It's a bit of a dance today, you know. It's a little bit of ballet on bike.
Ballet on bikes. I like that. Sweek has a little look there at Leie on these opening laps. This big pack, this fast course here in Kortrijk. It's giving us a good group as Elliott is on. Is he going to go straight through and try a little bit of an attack now? He's got his teammate on the front, Elliott, and straight away you can see that Corny van Kessel reacts to that move. So just making the most of those passing sections.
It's Sweek loosening it up, and now Easterbeat's going to take a shot. So they're kind of 1-2ing this again. As I think I was saying that I do expect them to try to do some damage here collectively on this track, because it's something that suits both of them. Again, off the bike again. But I do think that the two of them are going to work together today to try to create a situation where they can benefit from one another's hard work.
I would love to see a bunch sprint out of this coming up that finish straight, wouldn't you? It would be, if we could have a big bunch finish like this. I think it's something that we've not seen for quite a while.
If their goal was to keep a fast, tight race with small gaps, then they absolutely accomplished that.
Just a little shout out over on the YouTube forum from Todd McDanger. He's saying we need more cowbell. We definitely need more cowbell. I think I should get a cowbell here in the commentary box as well. I've got a fever, but I definitely need a little bit more cowbell out there on the course. Thanks for checking in, Todd.
There's got to be a cowbell in the GCN studio for you, Marty.
Yeah, I can play it. I play it as well as Will Ferrell does as well. Elliott a bit on the front here, this leading group, this great course that we got here in Kortrijk. Mathieu Van der Poel, the world champion, just sat back as they go onto this road section. The two bridges as Toenaerts just gets back on. Felipe Orts just finds his way through. The Spanish champion in some great company. And Sweek again just attacks the front of this one. Van Kessel, Isabit and Leie just behind him.
As you see Sweek bending the tape there. It's just really fast through this section. The all of the women and the riders, that is a pit that you do not want to go into on that side. That is the opposite side of the pit, but it's just way too fast and sharp. Unless you had an absolute emergency situation, you would never pit on that side. So the pits here today, as this course is, just hyper electric fast. As you see here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, almost 11, 12, 13 riders here in this front group still, about 20 minutes into this race. And it's, this is an incredible, you don't see this in modern day cyclocross as much as you used to. So very fast track here today.
Not so much. And Leie just switches over there. Lars van der Haar just onto the back of the group. David van der Poel, Tom Meissen and Lars van der Haar. And then look at the chase behind from Kleppe and Thijs Arts that are just behind there. With Kleppe, Bastians, Arts and Adams is your next group on the road. And it's still, those chases are still at 10 seconds.
Yeah, back in the day, I remember that they had made a course down near Oudenaarde. I believe it was Wortegem Petegem. It was one of my first World Cups that I had done. I think it was 2004, and it was in the beginning of the season, and it was an absolute scorcher. It was Mario de Klerk had designed the course, and it ended up being really big group, just like this in the front. And there was a surprise winner. It was a Czech rider who came out and took a big bunch sprint on the wide open road there in Wortegem Petegem. And it will be really cool to see something like that come through today as we see Toon Aerts making his way to the front of the group, Marty. That's how quick this type of race can change.
It is just swapping backwards and forwards here as they drop down into the sand. Toon Aerts, you saw, just kicking the pedal, trying to clear the shoe out. It's the Belgian champion on the front. Didn't have a great start. Van der Poel in the back of the group here as this big pack still together. We are on lap 4 of 9. If you're just checking in, this is the CAPS Urban Cross from Kortrijk live here on GCN Racing along the side of the canal, and it's Telenet Bauer's Lions that have got the front. Van der Haar on that road section as well. The power just finds his way back into that group. There's Van der Poel, just Mathieu Van der Poel just sat back in the group just ahead of the Spanish champion Felipe Orts.
Absolutely. This reminds me of Criterium Racing 101. You got to know when to pounce. You got to sit in the front of the group. You've got to wait for an opportunity, and then you've got to attack. But we see here Easterbit saying, I'm going to take over the reins here. I want to be able to control this pace as they come into these little stairs. A nice big section here to open it up as they get back on the bike. See Van der Poel still opting to take that inside line and get off and go over, but Easterbit stringing it out now, trying to wear all of the riders down, trying to thin this front group out, Marty.
Little thanks to Robert Zemenek over on the forum, just saying he thinks it was Zdenek Mlinar, if I've said that right, or Mlinar, that won that race that you were talking about.
That's exactly right. That's exactly who won it, and it was it was an interesting time. I think all of the Belgians had been really surprised after they had put that course together. I don't think that they had expected that it would be such a fast race, but it was really, really dry conditions for that time of the year, and an absolute scorcher. And yes, you're right. It was Milnar or Mylar that was able to take that win and take that first World Cup victory and hold on to the series standings there.
Oh, Vinny Bastians looks like he's got a bit of a problem there as he go down. Oh, he does. He goes down at the top of that one, and you just got to try and stop yourself from sliding down the bank there, Vinny Bastians. And he goes down Gear's side as well.
And the rider coming behind him, unfortunately, riding over that front tire. Not a good look. Not going to be happy with that. Going to have a chat about that after the race. Hey, why'd you ride over my front tire, man? You ruined my wheel.
Mathieu Van der Poel back down the group. The looking around this one at the moment, the likes of Elliott a bit, would you say, got to try and find a way to get away. If this did come down, as we would love a group, as I've just said, apologies for repeating myself, a group sprint out of this one. Van der Poel and Leie going head to head as Van der Poel just has a little bit of an issue. The first time that we've seen a rider trying to ride that muddy section there. You'd say it would be a straight out great battle between Leie and Van der Poel on that uphill sprint, but we've still got plenty of time to go.
Yeah, for sure. I think Van der Poel still testing the limits, not worried necessarily about losing the group or anything like that, but testing the limits of the course here, seeing what's possible. Again, I think he's taking notes. Where can I make a big effort and take a lot of time? As we see Corne van Kessel now stringing this out and taking a bit of a flyer here. This is like a road race, but you see, again, Easterby coming straight back with Toon Aerts on his wheel. But I do think, Marty, that Van der Poel's looking behind the group right now. So there's 10, 12 people, but he's actually gone to the back to not kind of show his cards, and he's looking at areas on the track where he can take a little bit of a profit and make a big gain all at once in one felt swoop. So everybody's assuming that the pace is going to stay the same, that this is going to be a group race, but Van der Poel's back there taking notes right now, looking at the track in a unique way, not in the front of the group, showing off the lines that he's trying, giving the other riders ideas. He's doing all that homework on his own right now towards the back of the field.
Looking at the size of this group this far into the race, do you think there's a few other race organisers looking at this one and going, oh, right?
Well, it is something unique. Mainly will come down to the riders' feedback, I think, with regards to how this is. And I think, you know, when you design a course for the first time, obviously Erwin Vervecke has a lot of experience doing this. However, I think he'll look at this course and say, I could do this a little bit differently. Now that it's been raced on, that will make year 2 just a little bit better. If they do decide to come back to this venue, they'll probably change a couple things. But being in a downtown urban setting, there is a lot of they're constrained. They don't have a massive field like at the Koppenberg Cross, for instance. So it is they have to work with what they have, but I'm sure that they'll make some adjustments for next year and the years to come.
Looking at this course, if you were coming in here, do you think the riders would you have upped the size of your front chainring for this course, for the speed of it?
Maybe that was what Toon Aerts and Eli Iserbyt did. Maybe they ran a bigger chainring on the front for the start as it went up the hill, but then came down, went downhill. I don't know. I think that this is definitely a big ring situation. There's no question. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these riders are riding 46s up front and a 10 or an 11, 28 or 30. That would be probably my go-to would be a 44 or a 46 on this type of track, being so fast and flat.
Laurent Swake's probably chucked on a 56, isn't he? Something like that.
They honestly probably have 48s on there. I would not be surprised if someone has a 48 on there in this field.
Orts battling on the back. There's a little gap now back from the back wheel here of Tim Melier. It's Corne van Kessel, Elisabeth Toon Aerts, Michael van Torenhout and Tim Melier that now have the front. They've got to press on with this one. Let's have some power up this climb. If they look back, they'll see that they've got an advantage and the road power. You can see the Corridor Circus riders as Van Torenhout does exactly that and attacks, has a glance back over the shoulder as David van der Poel tries to close that gap back just down a touch as his brother Mathieu comes over the top. Lars van der Hart right up on the wheel.
Van der Poel definitely not going to be looking at that gap as anything major, as he's able to close that down with about 15 strokes of the pedals there, Marty. But definitely the other riders in the front group knowing that they can take an opportunity to to hit Van der Poel a little bit. Hey, we've got a gap and we know that he's strong on the road. He can probably close this. But Michael van Torenhout immediately taking over the front and laying down an attack, knowing that this is a unique opportunity that he has almost halfway through this race, and Van der Poel not dictating the pace, riding away from everyone. This is, if you're a rider in this field right now, you're looking at this as a huge opportunity to be able to take a big win.
And as this race goes on, looking at these sections like this, the steps, that off-camber bank, it could come down to just the minutest of errors.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one small error, but like I said, I think Van der Poel has done his homework. I think the other riders here are all just hanging on, looking at the opportunities that they've been given. As we see now, it's Michael van Torenhout coming into this section, place for Van der Poel or truly any rider to be if you're not in the first 2 or 3. It's just dangerous. Like we saw in the women's race, it takes one mistake as a rider starts to get broken down, and it's the same in American criterium racing. As the race goes on, as the riders have more and more attrition, it hurts, and they make mistakes. And then once one mistake happens, another mistake happens, and then there's a gap, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. That's how you get broken down. Having to close those small gaps lap after lap really breaks a rider down.
Does indeed. So this large leading group here, lap 5 of 9 that we're on here in the Urban Cross in Kortrijk. Great crowds that we've got as Van der Poel just comes through over the top of Elliott a bit onto the wheel of Toonaerts, but Leie still has the front here from Krefin Friestadt. As again, Michael Van Toorenhout and Toonaerts bump that section. Mathieu Van der Poel follows suit. That's the first time we've seen him do that, as he then attacks over the top of this big bridge and closes the gap back down onto the wheel here of Toonaerts. It's a great shot there over the top of the bridge.
Absolutely a beautiful shot, going back over that river, going to the other side of this course and using all of that great, just the Belgian infrastructure. This is very unique bike path, walkway that they've got here that they've utilized for this course. It's super cool to see, obviously, the city of Kortrijk get behind this and allow them to have this race. But we see Van der Poel deciding no bike as the other riders come in. He's not going to be laying off the gas here. He's going to try to take back some of this time, and he's properly now back in 4th place in the race. As we see a bike get thrown, whoa, coming through. It's chaos in the pits right now, Marty.
We saw a few guys go down in the under-23 race, actually, through that. On to the long running section here. Tim Elliott still has the front, drops the bike, remounts at the exit of that section. And again, we saw it with in Koppenberg with Pidcock and Isabit. We've seen it quite a few times so far this season. It could be that because that far through the pits is particularly quite a quick section. There's not a lot of places to pass. That could be really decisive as this race goes on.
Yeah, but I think Van der Poel's seen that there's some chinks in the armor of his competitors, and he knows now that he needs to move up to the front because this is a race that can be lost if you're not attentive. So he's now putting himself almost back in 2nd place as we see Merlier now, though, drilling the pace as they come into this off-camber downhill section, popping off, running this boom off the bike. Van der Poel even running that lower corner and getting off the bike, and Toonaerts following suit. Everybody now just quickly off the machines and then back on as they finish out this lap.
There's Sweek back. That's the Belgian national road champion, Tim Elliott, that's got the front. The 27-year-old rider from Kortrijk. This is his home race, so this would be taking a win in front of your home crowd here would be a very, very special moment.
Yeah, Merlier going all in right now, definitely laying down something like he's been doing all year on the road to gain that Belgian national champ status. He is a star in Belgium, make no question about it. He is a big rider there. A lot of people, everyone knows his name. He's in the papers day in and day out, here tearing it up on the cross circuit. It's nice to see him, really seeing that this course suits his skills and his strengths, and then riding this race from the front. It's awesome.
When you look at that Belgian died, and he won it in a sprint, so he took it from Timothy Dupont, Wout van Aert, Philippe Gilbert, and Jasper de Vries. That was the top 5 in the Belgian National Road Championships, and it's really made him a really even more of a popular rider in his home country. And he went on, he won stages in the Tour of Alsace, he won a stage of the Tour of Denmark as well. It's been a while since he's had his hands in the air and at this sort of level in cyclocross.
But yeah, that jersey, I think anyone that's had one can tell you that it gives you so much confidence. It solidifies and gives you a lot of motivation for the future when you're able to win a national championship. I think it's a ride that really propels a lot of riders to be their best and to get the most from themselves, because it gives you a ton of confidence. He has the confidence, which is the most important thing. He believes that he can win, and that is truly one of the hardest things as a pro rider to develop, is that ability, even in a lot of adversity with Mathieu Van der Poel's dominance, to say, I can, and I'm going to try.
So Tim Merlier, Michael Van Toorenhout, Mathieu Van der Poel, Corne van Kessel, and Elliott a bit with a little gap back now to Toonaerts. Merlier has a little glance back over the left shoulder. Van der Poel here, we are on the lap 5 of 9. So we're waiting for when is Mathieu Van der Poel going to make his move? There's Lars van der Haar going through your picture. Then we've got a gap back to the Sweek, David Van der Poel, Meissen, and looks like Jim Arnouts is the rider that's on the back of that group. It is Jim Arnouts, and Jim Arnouts having another good day today.
Absolutely phenomenal day for Arnouts. still in the front of this one. And as we see Iservit just trying to tack back on Toenaerts, maybe losing that. Van der Haar just trying to get back on terms with this ferocious pace that Tim Merlier has laid down here.
Exiting this corner, and you can see this long straight. This would be a great sprint finish, and Merlier attacks that one. Toenaerts wrestling with the bike in the inner demons to try and get back on to this group. So we're through this line this time. We're going to go on to lap 6 of 9, 35 minutes and 59 seconds of racing so far. The gap still quite small. Lars Van der Haar again on this section here, up through the finish as Felipe Orts is the Spanish champion, just again trying to close down. The road section again, it just shows just what a pocket powerhouse Lars Van der Haar is, because each time on there, he's just closing that gap back up.
No, Van der Haar's been having a phenomenal season. He's been consistent all year long. He's been riding a great year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to make it right back to this front group and then put himself in a good position to get on the podium or even win here.
Mathieu van der Poel gets up. He's in 4th here. Is he a bit like, you know, when you see a cat with his paw on the tail of a mouse and he's just playing with everyone in the group? You just don't know what to expect here.
I don't think that's what's happening here, Marty. I think that he genuinely doesn't know how or where to find the time. I know that he's got the power. We all know that he's got the power. He's shown that with 35 consecutive wins, every time he starts. That's not the problem, is the power. It's where does he find the space to be able to lay that out and to use it to his advantage. It was the same problem at the European Championships, not a track that was able to suit his skill set and his strengths. So he's looking at an opportunity here. You see he's out of the saddle. He's digging as Merlier is riding the front and really using that elastic band that we've been talking about all day to his advantage.
One of the competitions that's quite interesting here in the DVV Trophy is the Toho Tires Quick Start. It carries a good prize purse as well. And in Hummer, Mathieu van der Poel took that from Toenaerts and Ellie Iservit, and Iservit leads overall from Van der Poel, Arts and Tom Pidcock. So that's the fast start. They also have 15 bonus seconds on that opening lap as well. So remember, the DVV Trophy, it's done on a cumulative time rather than points. And this urban cross here in Kortrijk, as each lap, again, Merlier decides to take that inside line as some riders choose to ride that section, as Iservit just closes again over the top of Van der Poel here. And again, this, because it's a new course, we always say we just don't quite know what to expect, but the riders don't either.
Yeah, it is absolutely. This is the first time anyone's seen this course, and I think that no one's done it yet. No one's finished on it. No one's raced it. So nobody has any sense of what this course does as it rides in over time, as it goes through. Van der Poel deciding, I need a bike. Boom, bike's on, and he's in there. But I can say that there's just not a lot of space. There's not a lot of areas to be able to gain time. You kind of have to ride the course as it lies. Van der Poel gets that good straight line through this corner. Boom, off the bike, onto his shoulder, but Michael Van Tornhout now taking up the pace setting, really starting to run with this one, doing his best. He's been at the front a lot. He's been consistent all year, taking a win at the beginning of the season. This could be something for Michael Van Tornhout. But the coolest thing, Marty, we're seeing a lot of riders changing from the front. No one has just been riding the front of this race as consistent, but Van der Poel deciding, boom, I'm running this whole thing. And you can see the leg speed that we saw in Coxside last weekend. He is just running just super, super fast through all of this section.
I think that's for me last week when you see the speed of Van der Poel through this section, and that was what was just phenomenal to watch in Coxside. It just shows, we look at him sometimes as a technical rider and the courses and the speed of the courses, the flowing technique, but it isn't until you see him running like that shows him what a complete cyclocross rider he is.
I think he's growing a little impatient with what's happening here. That's my sense right now. I would say that he's growing a little bit impatient. He's let people throw their wax at him, and he's saying, "I'm going to retaliate a little bit here." You can see that the pace is being pushed now by another rider, not Merlier, but it's Michael Van Tornhout, and he's saying that he's going to have his stab at it here real quick. So as he again has to yo-yo back onto this front group, because the front riders, as we've seen in the women's race and throughout this race, it just pays pays to be at the front of this one. That's where the speed comes in as he goes right past Toon Aerts. Like I said, growing a little bit impatient. This is a big section. First time we've seen Van der Poel now hit the front of this race.
Matthew Van der Poel through to the front for really the first time today. Toon Aerts, Michael van Toornhout are with him, Corny van Kessel, then a little small gap back to as they just close up Isavit and Malia with the power on the front. It's Van der Poel kicking on here and looking at the gap that he
pedaling where other people didn't think it was possible to pedal, bending this course, using every square centimeter of this course to be able to use it to his advantage. Right now, we're seeing that a very focused and determined Matthew Van der Poel.
Van der Poel on to the road again, just managing the changes in surface from the dirt to bricks to the road, and he's got this gap now. They've got to try and find a way to stay with him, and he really has dropped the big bomb here as Matthew Van der Poel, as he goes through this right-hander. He'll see that line just ahead of him.
Oh man, he's going all out right now. This is going to be a big effort for Michael van Toornhout to match this effort from Van der Poel. He's going literally in there. He's shoveling in the coal into the burner, man. He's absolutely digging right now. I think Michael van Toornhout just trying to hang on right now, saying, oh man, please sit up, please sit up.
I think people have been hoping he's going to sit up for the last couple of years, I would say.
Absolutely. But as you can see here, 1 lap, 5 minutes, he's decided that it was time to go. He wants to take some damage. But does he keep the pace up or does he sit up? Does he get in their heads enough to say, hey, no one else is going to, the riders behind are going to stop chasing? I don't think so. I think that Michael van Toornhout and this chase group have a lot of energy and a lot of motivation, because Van der Poel, you see it with him, he takes a lot of pride in when he does an attack. But if someone matches him, he hates it when riders match him. There's not a huge gap because the course is so fast, but he's going to need to string together a bunch of these sections to create a long attack with a really high speed and a lot of risk on this course, Marty.
I just saw Van Toornhout come through, and he just having a little word there with Elliott a bit. Just as we dropped down there onto the canal, Van Toornhout just gave a real shake of his head and a look back, like he was just the tank was looking like it might have been about to hit empty. He's almost said to Isavit, so. Where were you, man?
That's exactly what he was saying. Where were you? What was going on here? You know this moment was coming. Michael van Toornhout trying to match Isavit. They knew this kind of attack was going to come from Van der Poel, but they're late to the party. Isavit now having to make up for lost time. Michael van Toornhout super upset with Ilya Isavit. As we get a replay of this, what are you doing? Where have you been? I've been holding this thing up, trying to stay on. Come on, man, let's go. It wasn't a very motivational one, but that one will be in the papers for sure tomorrow. But that's not the story right now. It's Van der Poel going out, doing a huge attack, and Isavit trying to make up for lost time.
I'd love to be in the camper van after this one, would you?
I don't think I would, honestly.
I think there might be teddy bears at dawn for that one in the camper van after this one.
Yeah. It's brothers in arms at the end of the day. But Isavit trying to get back on terms with Van der Poel. As you saw Van der Poel ride that little section here. Now he's in control. He's putting out power. He's looking back. He knows he's got a gap. He knows he's done a big effort. He's coming through this section, which has a speed limit on it, meaning he can't go any faster than he's going. He comes in here. He's going to hit this rut to take him across this off-camber downhill section. Boom, with ease. And now he's on to the next section as we see Isavit trying to get back up to speed here, get on Van der Poel's wheel. Van der Poel decides he's going to take a bike.
Into the pits. Another bike change for the world champion. Isavit's got to stay on the bike. He can't, again, this is where the tactical bike changes play out. Toon Aerts, you can see the head drops all the time. Toon Aerts, though, he's got that style. This is his style, isn't it? He rides with pure emotion. Never hides anything. The head and the shoulders going all the time.
No, never does. I have to say, Marty, this has been brought up over on Twitter. A very American-style course with some Belgian, stuff thrown in there. Obviously, the running sections, the VIP tent, the use of a downtown public space, but in style. Adam Myers was pointing out to me on Twitter that this is a very American course, and I have to agree with him fully. As you see the riders, though, tackling this very muddy section through the VIP over the barriers, as we see Isavit running through those Toon Aerts there in third place.
Leie on the back of that, back up to your leader, up to the head of the race, onto the off-canvas section. The bike goes high. Mathieu van der Poel just looking down, just keeping an eye on his feet. He's a bit getting a bit of a dressing down from his teammate when van der Poel went. He'd been sat back in that group. We've not really seen this man on the front through this one. He had a few little efforts a little bit earlier on in the race. Leie and the likes of Swake all used up their power, all used up their energy a little bit early on. And this one again, do you think there was such, you've got to ride the race as the race is unfolding, but a lot of guys it seemed like they used up a lot of energy beans early on in this one.
Yeah, it's not a lot of opportunities to race in front of van der Poel. So, you know, if you're not going to do it, then there's no reason to be racing. You know, you got to take the opportunities as they come. If they think they smell a chink in van der Poel's armor, they're going to take it. As you saw, Merlier, Michael Van Toornhout, a lot of the riders do. But now Elliott Easterbeek just not having the legs to respond to that attack and not in the right position to be able to try to kick over when van der Poel decided. But you could see that moment. I could tell that there was urgency in van der Poel's eyes. If he knew that Easterbeek was the guy that he needed to beat, he knew he wasn't in a good position. He decided to pass everybody, boom, boom, boom. Michael Van Toornhout was there to take up the chase, wasn't able to match van der Poel. He said to Elliott Easterbeek, hey, what are you doing?
They've got to combine, haven't they? They've got to work as teams here. If Tellinet Bowers and Pau Sausen, there's plenty of strength in numbers in order to try and close this one down. I mean, you called it a good couple of minutes before he went.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is strength in numbers, but they're racing against Mathieu van der Poel, and so it's tough to be able to get on terms with him. He's got all of the perfect amounts of bike handling, technical prowess, patience, all of that. You see, he left this one late, but was clearly very much in control.
Toonart's leading out this chasing group. The Belgian champion didn't have it looked like he had a little of an issue, didn't get the best of starts early on. Leie, Van der Haar on the back up to your leader. Van der Poel is opening the gap over the chasing group behind her, because quite a few people wondering whether Van der Poel could win on this course, but there really isn't a course that doesn't suit this guy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's out there, but we see now Toon Aerts drilling it back. Aerts having a rough start at this race, way back, probably back in 10th or even further, not being able to clip in, having a small bobble on the stairs, able to kind of save that, come back and ride a really strong race here. But you can see just the relentlessness and the explosivity of this course. The way that it rides has been really hard on everyone's legs. It's one of those ones that you look at and you think, oh, it's a criterium. But can you imagine soloing off the front of our criterium? It's such a big effort to do that. As we see Van der Poel having to wind it up here to be able to take time back. The fans have come out here in Kortrijk for this downtown urban cross. But Van der Poel is now thinking not necessarily about what he's done to the field, but about taking back time in a very challenging and unique set of circumstances.
And look at this chasing group. Lars van der Haar looks like he's going to try and come through to the front. The wind just seems to have been knocked out of this chasing group. You can see the gap is already over 20 seconds from this group, and it's Lars van der Haar that leads through. So Van der Haar, Aerts, Easterbeek, Van Kessel, Van Toornhout and Leie are your chasing group, but already 29 seconds. And you just see the way Van der Poel just kicks it out of that bottom corner and up this little rise up towards the line. Looking at the way of Van der Poel, the way he won in the classics, the way he won at Tour of Britain, the way he's ridden on the road, the way he's ridden in cross. It's just that sort of little burn up that little short climb is just what suits him.
As he took a check back there, just looking at the damage that he's done, he knows that he's got a little bit of a comfortable lead. He'll like that as he comes down into this really fast sand section, trying to ride that. Oh, that's the farthest we've seen anyone get through that. Very challenging course. The fans you can hear are freaking out for that. They're down on the course side. But, you know, this is that course, Marty, where you really have to string these sections together, just like in Hama, to be able to create a big attack. But you see Van der Poel not letting up on the pace, knows that he's got the gap, knows that the riders in the back have sat up, and he has a lot of work to do to be able to get to the top of this leaderboard in the overall DVV series.
Tonarts gets around that corner as well. The sand as the day's gone on, but our leader, will he, just what sort of gap could he open there? She chases Arts and Turinat, Van der Haar, Van Kessel and Isabit as they go down onto the section by the water. And Van der Poel looking phenomenal again. There's the time above the riders here as they go through, just over 30 seconds.
Absolutely, over 30 seconds now. You had to see that these riders in the back, more had to take a break, right? They had to sit up a little bit. They had to take a rest. They had to recuperate a little bit, and just not able to match that crazy fast attack that Van der Poel laid down. And then they're going to come back and they're going to have a very fast last lap. It'll be interesting to see how this chase group plays out as, again, Van der Poel hits this off-camber downhill section off the embankment there. But yeah, these riders just needed to take a break as we see Van der Poel coming in for another bike, changing every lap now. But really, these riders need to check up. But this last lap from this group is going to be a heck of a race to watch for these last 2 podium spots, Marty.
It certainly is. It's a good time to just bring you up to speed with what's happening here on GCN Racing. The next round of the DVV Trophy is the Sudo Hoitonkron de Ronso on the 14th of December. Our next broadcasts are next Saturday, the Etias Cross of Essen round. That's round 5. And then we're back on Sunday with the Super Prestige round 5 from Zonhoven. Don't forget as well, each week on a Monday, you have the GCN Racing News Show. And we've got a poll as well on the new GCN app. Who is the greatest cyclocross rider of all time? So you can get on and vote on the app as well, and let us know who you think is the greatest of all time.
Oof, tough circumstances over there. The app is amazing. I've been using the app recently to check out what people are saying. A lot of people over there on the app. It's been cool to see. What do you think, Marty? Who do you think is the greatest of all time?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? And I caught up with Erwin in the week, and we'll bring you what Erwin thinks as well. You've got to say that at 24, you think when you look at the lights over the Eric de Vlaeminck. Oh, Tonarts goes over the top. You just saw there, caught that one as he goes into that section. Happens. We haven't seen too many riders bunny hopping and riding that section, but Tonarts just takes a tumble over the top of that one. Let's have another little replay. Just digs in there, catches just doesn't manage to get the back end up there.
Yeah, no, I think the mud being so deep there, just maybe just a little bit of suction on that rear tire there in that section, and not able to get it over. Definitely giving a treat for that for those fans there that are sitting in that VIP tent to be able to see the Belgian champ not able to execute that trick fully, but. Yeah, that shouldn't slow him down too much. Just a brief pause, get right back on that machine and keep going. That's part of cyclocross racing is the crashes, as we see Van der Poel here off the bike.
Gets onto those steps, makes light work of those. So Tonarts has picked himself up after that one. Yeah, a few of you wonder about the GCN app. So the app's quite new, and so we're just testing that one out, and just get on board, get on that, get voting on that one. Some exciting stuff coming up on there, and we kind of narrowed down our choice of who's the greatest cyclocross rider of all time. And as you know, we leave people out, and just to be controversial sometime, and not to be controversial, but to engage you all in conversation, not because we've forgotten who they are, because of course we didn't include Roland Liberton and some riders like that as well. So that's why we do it, to engage in your conversation, to get on board and check that one out. Van der Poel will come around the next time. We'll see what the gap is. Some big news as well in terms of riders coming back. Marianne Vos she has said she is going to be starting in Essen in the Etias Cross, so a lot of excitement as always around Marianne Vos when she comes back into racing. If you weren't with us earlier, Wout van Aert has also announced that he will be returning on the 27th in Loenhout, so a lot of excitement around the return of Wout van Aert, but we've got to go easy on him as well. Wout van Aert's Wout van Aert, as a lot of people say. We'll just see how he is. He will just be looking to try and ease himself back into racing, won't he, after that dreadful crash?
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be excited to see Van Aert come back. It looked like he posted something on his Instagram this morning that he was in Kortrijk with a Jumbo jersey with World Champ stripes on it. So no, he's been training. There's been some spy shots, if you will, of him training out in the sand on the beach, getting ready for his return to the cross season. So it'll be exciting to have him back. I hope that he's able to make a successful return right into the front group.
Yeah, I think he got papped on that one, didn't he? Because he said, I can't go anywhere without getting filmed and photographed. Matthew van der Poel, and he gets the bell. It's the bell lap this time here in Kortrijk. The world champion, the Wizard of Cross, Matthew van der Poel, just 56.58 is the time, the final gap when he made the attack. He made it stick. This group here still together, all looking around at each other as Turnart's through to the front. He's brushed off that little tumble on the planks, but it goes along around that little bit of road furniture down the center there.
Yeah, that's probably a good look. Some guys going to be looking at that line for the finish of this one as they come through here for the sprint kick, but it's Michael van Toornhout that's taking up the lead here. This is going to be an interesting lap for this chase group, Marty, because these guys, there's a lot of good riders in this group, and there's going to be a lot of desire to be on the podium here on this one.
You can see the gap there as well. Back to those riders, the likes of Tom Meissen, the teammate of Matthew van der Poel is going over to that Hens Mass team. And again, the course here just affords riders a bit of an opportunity just to see where everyone... Will he try and ride the whole sand section here on the final lap? Let's have a look. Gets the wide line, goes through there. Can he stay on the bike? Can he be the... round that corner. Almost. We were willing him to be able to be the only rider to ride that whole section today.
Almost. But the problem is there's a lot of speed. You got to get it just right. And then there's that big inflatable barrier that's there, kind of clips that, just puts his bars. Just not enough space probably between that and the line that's there, because everybody's been running around it with the bike on the opposite side of them, really tight to that. So just not enough space to really make it work unless he was able to kind of go through that 1 foot deep sand. As you see the fans on the side just paying respects to the world champion. I just say, maybe, who knows if he's the greatest of all time, but he's definitely the greatest of this time. And that's something that is almost undisputable at this point.
Definitely. And I'm sure as well, we were talking a moment ago about the return of Wout van Aert, but Mathieu will want Wout back and back at his best, because we've seen so many battles between them over the years. He'll be missing him too.
Absolutely. I think that they would love to have some more great battles, and I'm sure Wout van Aert's going to be fresh as a daisy when he comes back. I know he's been training hard, but nothing kind of makes up for those race efforts. So once he's back up and running at full speed, it could be a good opportunity for the Belgian Championships and the World Championships if he decides that that's something that he's going to take on this year.
Just over on the forums, you haven't got your names, you can't. It's just asking, is there any preems on any of the lap? There's actually bonus seconds on the first lap because the DVV Trophy is decided on a cumulative time rather than points. They have a 15-second time bonus on that first lap for the rider that's quickest through that archway that you can see the timer there. Back to this chasing group as Tim Merlier decides he wants this second spot on the podium. We also have the Toyota's quick start competition, which they have in this race. There's also a team competition, which the teams can donate the money to charity at the end of the season. So there are a few teams, not like traditionally like you have in some races with Criterium, always announcing crits, and some races getting money out of the crowd and putting that on the line for riders to sprint for next lap.
That's right. As you see, Tim Merlier, they're leading it out. There's a lot of anticipation coming in this last lap. No one taking a bike there from this chase group as they decide to run this entire section. It's Tim Merlier, the current Belgian national road champion, followed by Toon Aerts, the current national Belgian cyclocross champion. So the chase group is definitely looking at this finish and an opportunity to be on the podium here as we see Van der Poel navigating this tricky off-camber uphill section that I'm sure Vervecken is watching, just kind of chuckling at, as it's been such a challenge for all the riders today.
I'm sure he's going to be really happy with how this race has gone. I mean, up until the point where Van der Poel went, we'd had one of the closest races we've seen for a long time.
Absolutely. Van der Poel, now you can see just kind of making light work, just kind of getting the bike up back up to speed, but not with the intensity that he was, knowing that he's got a nice gap here, taking this last lap a little bit less intensely, but still keeping the pace high as he knows the guys behind will be chasing. He definitely had to lay out a big effort here today in Kortrijk to be able to get away from this group and to be able to make some separation. It's going to be interesting to hear what he thought of this race afterwards in the press.
Yeah, this trio of riders not far off the back of that chasing group as well. And up through this section for Van der Poel. You can see constantly just checking. Melier again attacks. This one, the road power of Tim Melier pushing Tonaerts behind him, just stretching out this group again. The Griffin Friedstads rider as Lars van der Haar tries to stay with it. Tim Melier wants the second spot on the podium, ups the pressure, ups the power. Schul has shifted through the gears. Melier now attacking this chasing group, searching down that second place.
Absolutely, ensuring that no one's going to pass him, which is most important because he wants to take a nice fresh shot at the front of this, making sure that he's giving these other riders that are in the back no chance to be able to get there by securing his position. One thing I can say about this course, Marty, is the fans are really pushing these riders to be at their best today. A ton of fans out for this downtown urban cross here in Kortrijk.
Tim Melier on the front here in the blue, white and black colours. His local rider, he's from Kortrijk. I think second place behind this man would be a really special day for him. You can see we have great crowds here in Kortrijk. This is the DVV Trophy round 3. Mathieu van der Poel, he was in 7th place at 3 minutes and 55 seconds behind leader Elliott, who is in this chasing group. So Mathieu van der Poel here, little by little, is just chipping away at the advantage of Elliott. He would have been 5 minutes down after missing the opening Koppenberg cross, but he's not far away now from that finishing straight. Again, another stunning performance today.
Absolutely, a fantastic race and a fantastic effort. He put on a great show for us. He strung together 2 good laps, made a huge gap, and was able to take this last lap a little bit less on the gas. But you see Melier not doing that, as you see the Telenet Balawaza guys trying to get on terms with Melier's pace and finish this thing off, get on the podium. As you see Van der Poel taking some time to give the fans what they want, some hands. They're not gonna wash their hands tonight. They're psyched.
Not at all. Mathieu van der Poel high-fiving some of the crowd before he goes into this final section. The consummate professional zips up his jersey, takes the final corner, sees the finish banner ahead of him. Mathieu van der Poel out of the saddle. He comes up. It's still that golden record. The man is unbeatable. High fives the crowd, salutes them. Another day, another victory for Mathieu van der Poel. Now the sprint for second place. Melier has a look back. Corny van Kessel, Tonaerts. Melier would be confident in taking this one, and he's taking it on from the front. Melier looks back. Corny van Kessel has got a good sprint, but Melier still has the front. Looks around. Here comes Tonaerts. Tim Melier takes second for Griffin. Tonaerts throws the bike at the line to take a third.
What an absolute scorcher of a race that was today, Marty.
Absolutely phenomenal. Now this sprint between Van der Poel, David Van der Poel, sprinting this one out with Arnouts and Meissen. Gets the better of that one.
It's nice to see a little slap of the hands there as you see Van der Poel just sitting here, just probably wondering what happened. It feels like everything was in fast forward today out there for those guys, as we see here. Yeah, Sweet probably not going to be super excited about this result. Was in the front early on. Looked like he had good legs, a good track for him. But it's Felipe Orts, the Spanish champion that we've got coming in now, finishing off.
You can't always just say Mathieu van der Poel's going to take it. I'm going to take a second place as almost a victory. Let's hear from Mathieu.
Overwinning in het veld op rij. Bedankt om te wachten tot de 7e ronde.
Ja, het was een beetje inkomend. Het was een nieuwe cross en het duurde ook wel even voordat ik het goede gevoel te pakken kreeg vandaag. En, door een paar foutjes kwam ik even echt in de achtergrond, maar ik voelde wel dat ik altijd wel de benen had om terug naar voren te rijden.
Ja, aan de Collegebrug had je op een bepaald moment een kettingprobleempje?
Nee, niet echt eigenlijk, maar ik had wel een beetje problemen in mijn pedaal te geraken af en toe door het slijk en dan vooral na de zandbak. En ik dacht dat ik erin zat, maar ik zat er nog niet in, dus Ik schoof erover en daardoor maakte ik even een foutje.
Je verzeilde daardoor in een tweede groepje op 8 seconden en toen besliste hij van, ja oké, daar moet ik meteen naartoe.
Ja, maar ik had het al snel door dat ik heb een paar ronden ook iets te ver van achter gereden. En dat is enorm lastig op dit rondje, omdat eigenlijk best wel veel draaien en keren is. En je merkt dat pas als de snelheid echt hoog ligt in een wedstrijd, dat voel je tijdens inrijden nog niet. En er werd echt wel hard gereden vandaag, dus het was toch wel een beetje zaak om wat vooraan te postvatten.
Was het voor jou moeilijk dan eigenlijk om die eerste koershelft met de handrem op te rijden?
Ja, het was niet per se met de handrem op dat ik reed. Het was best wel lastig, zeker als je daar als 5 of 6 aan die rekker hangt, dan moet je echt elk rechtstuk volledig recht staan en dat maakt het wel lastig.
Zei je vader Adrie, 1 keer doortrekken op de aankomstbrug en is weg.
Ja, het was niet echt op de... Ja, ik was daarvoor ook al een beetje weg, maar ik wist natuurlijk wel dat dat het lastigste deel was van de koers. En het was eigenlijk vrij attent zijn, omdat vooral de asfaltstroken is ontzettend glad met modder aan de band. En dan moest je echt wel bij de les blijven.
Reed je hier rond met het gevoel van kokzijde in de benen?
Ja, nee, dat is niet te vergelijken. Het is ook een heel andere omloop. En in kokzijde kan je echt je eigen tempo goed rijden en echt diep gaan op veel stukken. En dat is hier wel iets minder, maar ik denk dat iedereen wel gezien heeft dat dit wel een heel geslaagde editie was. Ik denk dat de drukste cross tot dit seizoen was.
En de baggerstrook, ben je er ook 1 keer in geslaagd om over de balken te springen al rijdend?
Ja, dat ging eigenlijk wel elke ronde denk ik, maar ik had voor de wedstrijd ook al beslist om vooral te lopen om de benen een beetje te sparen en om de fiets wat proper te houden. Want eigenlijk was dat het enige stuk waar je fiets echt vuil maakt als je erdoor reed.
Dankjewel en proficiat Mathieu van der Poel.
Let's have a look back at today's highlights here in Kortrijk. The Urban Cross, Mathieu van der Poel getting a great start, but it wasn't the performance from the start that many were expecting. He then was back in the group, and for the most part of the race, we had a large leading group. Laurent Sweek was one rider attacking the front. Tim Melier was also very much to the front. Corny van Kessel was the next rider to try his luck. But at this point, Van der Poel was just biding his time. His brother David bringing him back up towards the front group, deciding not to pit as many other riders did. That was when he found his way back up towards the front. Those fast legs, the running style of Mathieu van der Poel. It was up to the front with Michael van Turenhout and Toon Aerts right behind him. And this is where he dropped the big hammer. Mathieu van der Poel made his move. Only Michael van Turenhout was able to stay with him, with a frustration overspilling to his teammate Elliott just to ask him, where were you? Van der Poel just ran away with the race behind Toon Aerts. A little tumble for the Belgian champion, not his day. The battle was very much for second place. Van der Poel was able to just take some glances and see where the rest of the riders were behind. The local rider from Kortrijk, Tim Melier, the Belgian national road champion, was followed by Toon Aerts, but Mathieu van der Poel, keeping his perfect record in cyclo-cross, crossed the line, high-fiving the crowd to take yet another victory. Who can challenge this man? Behind him, the sprint was starting, and it was Tim Melier leading out from Corny van Kessel and Toon Aerts, but a perfect finish for the Griffin Friestads rider, kicking on towards the line, and he would take second place. Toon Aerts was sprinting out his teammate for that third spot on the podium. What a day. That was a great race. I really enjoyed that.
Oh man, the men's race was awesome. Definitely cool to see Van der Poel really decide, like, okay, I've got this nailed down. I've got my tire pressure. I've got everything going. He said the course was super fast. There was a lot of possibilities to be able to take time, which we saw. You know, it was exactly what we expected. It was him waiting for that exact right moment to pounce and then doing hit and making a big show of it when he did.
Every single course, I mean, really, when we look at it, is different and a new course. And Erwin did a phenomenal job putting this course together. I mean, he's an absolute genius when it comes to this, because when you looked at it and you thought urban cross, but that gave us, for the most part of that race, it gave us one of the closest and most exciting races that we've seen in quite a while.
Absolutely. As we see here, this was the top 10. Van der Poel, Merlier, Aerts, Kessel, Van Kessel, Eli Easterbeet, Michael Van Tornout, Lars van der Haar, David Van der Poel, Jim Aernouts, and Tom Mayusen rounded out the top 10. Very small gaps there, only about 20 seconds back to those chasers. So not a huge gap, not a huge time gap, but definitely very exciting racing.
Great progress again today from Tim Merlier. He was up there, he was attacking it from the front, taking second place. He's going to be happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's going to be really excited. Toon Aerts hopping on the podium, rode a strong race, had a lot of mistakes today. Definitely not going to go back home and say there's nothing to wish for there. But what could have been is not what you do as a bike racer. You only do with what you're dealt. So taking that last step on the podium away from Corne van Kessel, but a great ride from a lot of these guys. The fast courses suit different riders' skill sets. This isn't the same way that they do every single cross. So it was a good opportunity for some riders to come up. Definitely Merlier is going to be really happy with that second place and being able to take that sprint finish. I'm sure that he replayed that time and time again as they came through lap after lap, how he was going to race that section and how he was going to finish that race off and hopefully end up on the best possible position.
Looking back through that front group, and there's a lot of riders that are now getting to that point where they'll go into a kind of mid-season training camp. They'll head for a little bit of warm weather. To me today, Elliott Easterbeet maybe looking like he's starting to fatigue and could do with a break to rebuild for the second half of the season.
Yeah, I think so. I think Easterbeet definitely has had a very strong first half of the year. I think at European Champs he pushed Van der Poel very, very hard. But not as consistent as someone like Van der Poel, but able to be there for the big races. He rode a very strong early season, first half of his series, taking both the World Cup wins in the United States and then continuing on to hang on and to challenge Van der Poel when he came back. Winning at Koppenberg. There's been a lot of very hard races in the first half of the season, so not surprised to see his snappiness and level come down just slightly, but some rest and recovery. I'm sure he'll be right back at it.
If we get the DVV Trophy overall, I'll ask that we can get a look at that just to see how that's affected the general classification standings. But there's one thing. Let's have a look at the highlights of today. Let's have a look at the full highlights of today's racing. And if you don't want to know the result of the women's race, look away now. You can press mute. It was Eva Lechner leading out, and again, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, Anna-Marie Verst, Yara Castelline, Sana Kant, Lucinda Brand all coming through towards the front. A really select front group, and again, dominated by the Dutch. For Castelline, Kant and Verst, though, they all came together and a little tumble. They were delayed and it left the front group as Lucinda Brand and Celine Alvarado. Alvarado leading through again. Lucinda Brand's phenomenal road rider behind. The trio were trying to come back to the front, but they would run out of laps to do so. In the sprint, Alvarado led out. Lucinda Brand came over the top to take her second victory of the season for the Telenet Baloise Lions, while Anna-Marie Verst managing to outsprint Sana Kant and Yara Castelline to take third place, 17 seconds down. There was your top 10. Lucinda Brand from Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, Verst, Kant, Castelline, Azufi, Lechner, Verdonschot and Van der Steen all up there in the top 10. There was your podium. Lucinda Brand from Celine Del Carmen Alvarado and Anna-Marie Verst. Into the men's race, and Mathieu Van der Poel starting his watch as they kicked off on the opening lap, and Tim Merlier getting delayed. Van der Poel leading in to the sand, but from this point it really got into a really exciting race.
Absolutely, yeah, and you can see some of the riders are taking that outside, but using all of downtown Kortrijk to its fullest. Erwin Verwecke with the course layout here, the brand new urban cross here in Kortrijk, and it was an interesting first half of the race with, you see Corne van Kessel here really feeling like he had a good day in his legs and taking a huge opportunity to ride the front. Van der Poel, though, realizing that there was danger ahead as he figured out the track in the first half of the day. And then having to close up the gap. It was mayhem in the pits. There were riders and bikes going everywhere as they had to switch because of this muddy section that you see here past the VIP. Van der Poel, of course, made his way back across to the front, got a little bit impatient. We could see it in his eyes, deciding here, boom, laying down a massive attack and taking away probably 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and then it was a lot more. But there it was. Michael Van Torenhout saying to Eli Easterby, hey, man, come on, what's going on? Were you back there having coffee? Van der Poel's riding away with this one. So Van der Poel, though, able to make it through, and there it was. Toon Aerts having a brief moment, just not 100% on the course, no major problems, still able to make it on the podium, even with that mistake. And Van der Poel able to take the last half lap off the gas and just able to relax a little bit, but not the case from the chase group. Tim Merlier drilling it very close to his home, where he calls home. Van der Poel taking the win out and making time for the fans.
High five in the crowd. Good to see
Absolutely.
Mathieu van der Poel high five in the crowd as he came in to take the victory today. The local man behind, though, as the group came in to the finish, Tim Merlier opening up the sprint. Great power that today Griffin Friestad's rider has. He took second place, while Toon Aerts, Corny van Kessel were battling it out for that next spot on the podium. There's confirmation of your top 10. Mathieu van der Poel from Tim Merlier, Toon Aerts, Corny van Kessel, Elisabeth van Torenhout, Van der Haar, David van der Poel, Jim Arnouts, and Tom Meissen was your top 10 today. A great course that we've had here. Can anyone beat him? Do you think? He's just such perfection at the moment. I think we kind of run out of superlatives sometimes, don't we, to kind of sum him up?
It was a fun race to watch, man. It was a fun race to watch. A very unique track. I think it gave us a lot to talk about. And, we're watching one of the greats right now. So it's been great to be able to just see him going all out, taking the opportunity to rip this course up. And yeah, it's been great racing, from the second that Van der Poel's been there, from before it. It's been a great season of racing.
And in terms of the going forward now we're getting into a very, very busy part of the season, aren't we? In December. I mean, Jeremy and I have not really got any time off over the festive time over in December. I'm not even going to mention that yet because we're not into December yet. But we're getting into a very, very busy time of the year as well.
Absolutely. Next weekend is the famous Zonhoven track, which I'm really looking forward to calling. After having been out there just a couple of weeks ago, touring around and having a good time. If you guys haven't seen that episode, definitely check it out. It's I take one of the other presenters, Oliver Bridgewood, over to the Zonhoven track. He's never ridden cyclocross before, and so that's a heck of a episode. But I'm looking forward to that one. And truthfully, the Christmas period is always a great time in cyclocross. It's a beautiful time, a lot of racing all at once, and it's cool. It's a little cyclocross stage race.
We'll check if we're going to have any podiums or the standings overall. I think they're still carrying on with interviews. Thanks for all your chat today. It's been great to see everyone getting involved over on the chat forums again as well. Make sure you subscribe to GCN Racing. Again, the more subscribers, the more viewers. Keep spreading the word. We've got live cyclocross all the way through to February. Thanks all of you for watching and sharing that. But make sure, if you can, subscribe as well. Give our video a bit of a thumbs up. We're going to leave it there today. Next weekend, we are back with a double broadcast, the return of Marianne Vos in Essen, and then, as Jeremy said, we are on to the epic track in Zonhoven. So for Jeremy Powers and myself, Mike McDonald, we'll see you next week. Bye for now.